Okay. So we're rolling. I'm just gonna slate it real quick, and that's gonna be the start, I guess.
Okay.
Unless I use everything so far. So let me just catch my breath. I don't want to be out of the breath.
You're like coming into it, and you're.
All right. Okay. Alrighty. Tom Proffitt, take 6, with Kevin Macauley here, debuting his I guess paperback of the book.
That's
book,
right.
The Bebop, was it the Bebops?
That's right.
Because I think there was somewhere I saw like the bee that does the bop or something.
Yeah, so the screenplay is the Bebops, and then I adapted the screenplay into a kid's book. And the kid's book, I changed the name a little bit.
Yeah.
And the kid's book is called The Bee That Danced the Bop.
Nice.
And actually, this is the hardcover right here, and it's officially
let's put this
available
up so people can see
on Amazon. The hardcover is officially available.
There we go. It's probably a little bit blurry. Sorry.
So the paperback has been available since November,
Yeah.
and now the hardback is also available on Amazon.
Nice.
So,
dude, it's been
2 options.
It's been a while since we've seen each other.
I know.
Well, then we did talk because of the wedding stuff and congratulations on that.
Thank you, appreciate it.
But,
Since Rusty Spade, right?
Yeah, dude. Oh man.
We'll
probably get into that.
That was a fun shoot.
Yeah.
It was challenging, but definitely got a lot out of it.
Yeah.
At least from an acting standpoint.
Yeah, I felt like maybe we can get into that early. But real quick, just for anybody who is wondering, we'll give a brief explanation. You tell us about yourself real quick, and or any explanation you have.
Okay. So actually, my full-time job, I am a Delaware State Trooper. I am on patrol. I am on the dive team. I possibly will be on the SWAT team.
Ooh.
This week. I find out. I went through SWAT school.
Wow.
And then I have a martial arts background. So I got into acting a couple years ago. I wanted to do the stunts initially with the martial arts background. And then I ended up falling in love with the acting side of it. So I started acting.
Mm-hmm.
Recently, I started writing. I started producing. And then I authored my first kids book.
Gnarly.
So,
and just to so I first, I'll talk about it, like how I usually ask the guests, like how did we first meet, and it goes on forever, which is fine. But like I have so many things I want to touch on today, and usually I can get through 3 questions and that's it for our podcast. So we're gonna try. We're gonna be jumping around a bit. So yeah, dude, like when I was doing Feeding the Fire, I remember you I was looking for extras for I think a bar scene and theater scenes and all that sorts of stuff. And this is the back when we really started working on it, and then before we took a hiatus and then worked on it again and made it much better, and actually finished it. That was when you first reached out to me on film.org, and I was reading, it stuck out to me. I was like, that's sick. Like a Delaware State Trooper. I'm like, this is somebody who's not just somebody who's trying to make films or like be an actor or whatever. He's actually lived something, unlike me. And I'm like, awesome. I want to work with this dude somehow. And like it took a while, and and I think while I was working on Feeding the Fire, I actually kind of started picturing you and this other actor for these roles for this like World War II film I've been writing since. I'm still writing it.
Wow. Okay.
It's coming. Don't worry, it's coming.
Keep me in the loop,
dude. I've kind of just rethought everything about writing for myself, like. And we're going to get into a lot of writing today because I have a lot of questions because it's a good freaking script. Also, do you care if we curse at all? If we want to keep it clean, we can try. I'll try my best.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay. I don't really curse, but because I
don't know if you had like a particular audience like that you wanted to show this to.
No, okay. Whatever you feel comfortable doing. Okay.
Whatever comes naturally.
Yeah, whatever comes out.
Yeah, because I might forget. But yeah, so I started writing this World War II film with you in mind, and then that's why I got you and a bunch of other people into Rusty Spade, which is that short film. I actually wasn't even thinking about doing it for a while, and it was something that just came back to me year after year after year for 7 years? I don't know, maybe less. It was back in 2013. I think I had the idea for it, and it started as three guys in the woods, and they're all hopped up on something, and there's a shovel, and they're killing each other with it. That was literally how it started. It was the worst way of starting an idea, I think. I think we made the most of it in terms of story.
You did.
And then
the one take.
I always feel like I could improve if I were to reapproach it, but we'll get into that. But yeah, and then like you stuck out to me immediately, and that's like the fact that you have this kind of real world experience with like Delaware State Trooper. I feel like that helps you out with your art, with your writing, all these different things. And it really showed when I was working with you on like Rusty Spade, because I mean, you for one, you knew how to handle a gun.
Yeah.
But
I was
just
hardcore into the role, doing push-ups in between takes.
Yeah, you were in it. You were like,
I get intense.
You're like, Tom, is it okay if I don't talk to anybody during this shoot between takes? I'm like, go for it.
Because it was a hardcore character, and just you have to be focused the whole time for a role like that. I guess, is that specifically
considered method, or I don't know?
Yeah, I guess that's what people call it.
Yeah, I guess there's different ways of explaining it, but yeah. Hold on. So you got SWAT.
But interesting enough, I wanted to mention, I must have applied to over 100 roles when I first started. And the hardest thing with acting is they want you to have the resume. They want you to have experience, but you can't get a resume, you can't get experience until you get roles. So it's kind of like,
that's shocking.
A hard thing to start. So I applied to over 100 roles, and then I finally heard back from you for the extra spot.
Yeah.
So you were actually the first person who
100 roles
reached out to me. Yep.
Just for extras, you finally
just everything. Everything I could find. I was just if I fit the character type and description, I would put in for it.
Yeah, this is weird because it's like, so a while ago, me and I think I was talking to Darlene. I actually did this with her at once, where we were working on this thing called like cinematic monologues, and it was basically going to be the service that my company provided to actors, who couldn't get a role, and you basically pay for like a production, and I think it's evolved to this point to it would be like sorry if I burp. It's like a scene where two actors can pay like their half, and then to be in a scene together, we produce like this scene that they can use for their reels, and then they can send that to people, and it looks good.
They can have something to start.
Like cinema camera with my audio.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't done it because I'm like, just go apply to roles and get a role in a film where people are really like determined to make it good. If it's that hard.
But it is hard. I will say it's hard.
Believe that.
Like I said, over 100 roles. And that's because I didn't have experience. I didn't have an acting background. I didn't go to school for acting.
It's kind of like actually it's interesting. I've wanted for a while to like DP some stuff, and back when I was doing I was working on another film, and I had this really advanced DP reach out to me who taught me so much just working with them, because it's like you feed off of like their mindset when you are around them and working with them, like just talking to them and then them kind of critiquing everything you're doing. It's like it brings you up to a new level. And that's what happened with Feeding the Fire, is I met somebody who, like, it was going terribly. I met somebody who was going to replace the old DP. We ended up working on something else, but then that I was like, it's just not me, or whatever, pretentious artist syndrome. And I basically, but it brought me, like, it brought that film and me up to a new level, but it also kind of got me cocky, because I was overestimating my own abilities, which led into Rusty Spade, doing a one take.
A one take, man.
We'll get into that. We'll probably get into that sooner. But yeah, I was like, where was I? Yeah, it's hard. Like, I was like, why is this guy trying to DP my film? Like, who am I? Like he could be DPing on it. I'm not. He's volunteering to do this, and he's actually willing to chip in money on it. I'm like, what? Now I get it, because it's like I've tried like reaching out occasionally, and I'm like, why aren't they? Then again, I think I just don't have really good examples of DP because I haven't done it yet. Like, I mean, I've done like a few things where I shot it, but I haven't done something where it was a serious project where somebody else's heart was in it, like to the degree I would have it. for my real films, not my sketches. I shoot my sketches, but then again, I'm in them, and that just I want something where I'm actually 100% focused on cinematography, and actually like we're planning it ahead of time, because I mean I feel like I can really like I like recently I've started learning, really diving deep into color grading. Like the last podcast I did with David, that was probably I actually feel like I've made such an improvement on the look of my work, because I graded that from the ground up instead of just using some of the standard LUTs that come with this. And then I used to do this thing where I would isolate the colors of the skin and then add red to the shadows, there's a theoretical thing that it's like it emphasizes like blood flow, so it makes the person seem more alive on camera.
Okay.
It worked to a degree, but I was like, now I'm like, no, it's just better when you do skin tones natural looking. And so I think like, and that's good for news for wedding videography. Like my weddings are gonna look better, I think. And and it just taught me like how to work with nodes, which is like creating a node tree with just all these different things that change the color. And I've also learned how to make it a cleaner isolate like certain colors and things. Like you can pick like a color or even go into the advanced settings of choosing like I want everything within this level of shadows and this level of highlights, isolate that plus this color spectrum within that, and that's how you like isolate colors and the skin tone, all that stuff. And you do what you can to like keep the skin tones intact and then change everything else to like if you want like green shadows to like make it like a Finchery look, you can do that, or crush the shadows a little bit, but keeping the skin tones intact. It looks natural, but it has the feel and the look of it.
Amazing what you guys can do. I don't know anything about that stuff.
Trying to get into that.
That is not my expertise at all. But it's interesting, just the trial and error and putting yourself around good people or people that know what they're doing to learn that kind of stuff.
You guys have you have a DP on the film. I probably shouldn't talk about this because I'm gonna help out on it.
Yeah, right now we do. The film we're shooting in February.
What cameras are you using? If he needs to borrow.
To be honest with you, again, I don't really know much about that aspect of filming and acting, but we can talk after this about all that. But yeah, it's shooting in February. It's a short action, and got a lot of great people on board. So I'm pumped about that.
I was like, I need to work on this, So I was like, all right, I'm gonna make it.
It's gonna be a lot of fun,
dude. Look,
and especially doing
the other night. The short.
The short, okay.
As soon as I finished the bebop thing, and we haven't gotten to that yet, but real quick, let me talk about. We'll get to SWAT hopefully. Rusty Spade, real quick. You know what? We'll hold that for the end. So first off, the bebop, the script, I could see why it won an award. I like when I first heard about that, I was like, I didn't even know you wrote, like you were writing, and I want to ask you like in a second like,
how that all started.
When did that start? Because I was like, that was out of the blue for me. I didn't know. But that's awesome. But dude, I don't say this very often because I realize it's like there's hundreds and thousands of hours of work involved with it, making a film. Sometimes it can go to thousands. But hey, if you need like a help with producing or co-directing or whatever.
Yeah, man.
Did you see that?
I love
that
networking
stupid
with
Lego
people
animation thing I did.
I think I did. Yeah, yeah, that was cool.
Yeah. That almost killed my old laptop.
Dude, that's cool stuff that you know how to do.
That's impressive. How I started. Just making animations, but I mean, I was like, I wanted to try a bunch of stuff with After Effects where every character was isolated. Like each character was animated separate, but I had planned with storyboards everything, every shot. I also then did the sound first, which is really important. I'll get into that later. That animation, like I had done things that I had been thinking about, how could I do this? I was just thinking about for years, because there's so many things, like it's really hard to have all these characters moving with the camera moving simultaneously, like it's a handheld shot. Like I managed to.
It's all computerized. I mean, the characters
the characters are actual elements, like literal characters on a green screen.
Wow. Okay.
But I did the math, not math. I knew what shots I needed to get of each character, and I kept the camera at the same distance and position, and the same lighting setup for each thing, so that it came together and it blended together.
Wow.
And it looked like it. But I'd like to get into like I wanted to ask for this, are you imagining it like 2D or 3D animated?
Either one would work, I think.
Yeah.
Nothing specific with that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, basically, this is the adaptation of the screenplay, and I'm using this to kind of promote the idea, promote the story, and get it out there.
And I don't even think I got into like what's a brief synopsis of it, because I don't think I even touched on that, or he asked you, so I should probably touch on it.
Yeah. So the Bebops, the screenplay itself, it's basically about this insecure, chubby bee who doesn't really fit in his hive because he loves dancing and he loves music, and he doesn't go anywhere without his little portable radio. He listens to rock and roll, 50s rock and roll music, and dances the bop.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and he doesn't fit in with his hive because dancing and music is outlawed. It's against the rules. Anything that's a distraction is outlawed. So any kind of art, any kind of entertainment, it's outlawed in the hive. So he doesn't really feel like he fits in. And eventually, after you finish school in this beehive, you are assigned a job. You don't even get to pick. They just tell you where you're going to go to help the hive. And ironically, Bernie, who's the main character, he gets assigned to the army. He's a soldier bee, which is really not like his personality. And just to try to sum it up quick, because I don't want to give anything away, basically a monster threatens the hive. It ends up being a giant hornet, and he gets separated from the hive, and he kind of goes on this different path where he is able to pursue his dream of dancing and music. And he links up with kind of like a money driven cricket who convinces him, hey, Connie, we can do this. We can use your dancing abilities. We can use my business abilities, and we can create this business opportunity together. And they go to a foreign land. They start this group called the Bebops. They get other dancing bugs. It's kind of like the Beatles. So they get other dancing bugs, and basically it's a dancing troupe. So they dance to rock and roll music. They do the bop. They do the boogie woogie. All that old 50s dancing, the jive, the cha cha, and
keep going.
Eventually they kind of have a falling out, and he has to go another path, which eventually leads him back to his hive.
Yeah. So I love the 40s and like the 50s, not like the eras elements, like the fact that like the hive, it starts out on the hive, if I can say that the hive is like this, it's like the pristine, like perfect neighborhood where like everything's perfect, like in the 50s or whatever. I love that. I love that it's just as soon as I started reading it, I was like, all right, this is different. Like this isn't like a normal script where it's like, it's obvious that it's like, okay, this is like an amateur writing. It feels like a Pixar film,
Thank you, appreciate that. I wanted to add a lot of layers to it, and just the dancing elements, the musical elements. I wanted to show, you see 50s rock and roll, you see 40s jazz, you see even 60s rock and roll at the end, even 70s disco at the very end. But I just wanted to add a whole bunch of different elements to the screenplay itself.
Now, I'm gonna jump to another question in my list. What is your? I think how long have you been writing? Let's ask that.
So it initially started as me wanting to create a stunt reel with my friend, and me and him both came up with this like short story idea, and that was probably like 2 years ago.
Damn.
I think I want to say after we did Rusty Spade, like that summer. And then from that short story, I came up with a whole backstory and came up with a whole feature film idea based on that. And that's where I came up with my first screenplay, my feature called Satori.
Yeah. I was reading that. I liked it. And I love the little, if I don't know, the music element. I'll just say that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went on. I was
The
like, yeah,
90s.
all right, perfect. I gotta see where he's going with this. I like it.
Yeah. So then I started with that, and I knew nothing about screenwriting. I had no idea what I was doing. I just sat
Okay.
down behind my laptop and started typing, and I would look up YouTube videos. I would get books and read books and
That's the
figure
other
out how to
question
do
I had.
this.
How did you teach you? Do you taught yourself?
I taught myself.
Send me some of these resources?
Okay, yeah, I can send you
I like
some.
what you've done.
Some YouTube videos. The one book that really helped me, it's Jill Chamberlain's book. I can't remember the name right now, but it's a screenwriting book, and it kind of gives you the structure.
Yeah,
and it tells you how to create, basically like the opposites. Like, so in the beginning of the screenplay, your character wants something, right? And then, near the second act at the end, he wants the opposite. So you create like that irony, the opposite. And it just tells you how to write that 3-act structure. The first act's 25%, and then
because you did it really
second
well.
act 75%, and then third act, obviously wraps up the film, and then it shows the character arc.
Yeah, you managed to basically, you start out with this problematic world where the problem's clear, and it's like you're interested, you're hooked, and it's a unique world. Excuse me again. I can see how it would be a very visual, like a really awesome visual, visualized world. Once it's visualized on the screen, like I feel like just the kind of the things you laid out, it makes for a very visually pleasing, visually interesting film. Which, not like that's something somebody like, you got to do that, Tom. Like reading my scripts, I'm like, I just want to do something on a location that I know I can get.
Yeah.
like there was a advice from a screenwriter recently I heard that bugs me, but I think there's truth to it. But I think it's like, it's not a hard fast rule, but it's something if you can stick to it, it helps you. It's think of the first 3 locations you can think of and go with the 4th. Meaning, your house, your bedroom, your car, you thought of those where you can play this scene out? None. Go with the 4th. And usually it's, or go with a location that people want to go. Not places that they know they can go. Go to places that people want to go. Take them to places they want to go. And that's the view with animation, is you can take places that you can't really go.
Right.
You can create new places.
Right.
And you've done that. The reason I'm kind of hesitant to subscribe to that completely is it's like this. It's
well, it's hard as an indie filmmaker.
Yeah. And you know what? Especially
because you might not have those resources to take an audience someplace like that.
Especially if you're like I was, where I spent 5 years trying to write a thing and it just buried me deeper and deeper because I didn't have the right guidance. Plus I'm ADHD and I just kept diving into one element and just I couldn't get out of it and just finish something without structure around me. And I had to create that structure with friends and feedback mechanisms, which I can get into. And it's, what ended up happening was, I just kept trying to make something and write something that I could turn into a film, because I was like, I haven't made a film in a while, and I call myself a filmmaker, and I'm just here writing stuff. And so then I tried writing something, but then I ended up writing this thing that involved these guys trying to, get this girl's number, and it turns into a gunfight in a library with silencers, and they're these 2 guys start working together, and then all these guys come out of the woodworks we're gonna get this girl's number. They're trying not to get noticed and spotted, and I'm like,
that's
and then,
great.
And then it gets to a point where there's an explosion in the library. I'm like, where the heck am I gonna get this place? And how
are you gonna create that?
Yeah, and so, and then after that, I was like, all right, this next script, it's a 15-minute film or whatever, and it's going to be nothing but Aaron Sorkin style, verbal action, where it's the only action is 2 characters using words to get what they want or to go somewhere with the story. And ultimately the character will have an arc, or hopefully I'll try to figure it out how to make that arc. And that became the big problem for me, learning how to do that. And it's one that felt real to me. It has to feel like that's like something real, so that I have the motivation to work on it. And so what ended up happening was, I was like, I started working on, ideas, and then, the idea of let's do it at a rest. Like what if we do a script where the scenes could be done anywhere? All that matters is the dialogue. It doesn't really matter where it's done. Now, I didn't exactly do that, but that led to feeding the fire.
Okay.
And it was this exercise in, let's just do something that some people are going to read it and say, well, some people are going to love it because they sense what we were after, which was just a realistic story, like something that felt real, and like you saw the arc to it, or some semblance of one. And but other people would be like, that's it, like like it's like, all right, just a bunch of people talking at locations that I've been to, it's, but it for me, it's like I was learning how to make a story based on things that inspired me from watching all this classic cinema.
Right.
Because so there's a thing that's like Netflix for cinephiles, Criterion Channel.
Okay.
It started as a Film Struck, but that went away, and then everybody got in an uproar because, for good reason, like this was access to just a huge library of some of the best films that had ever been made, and most people don't have access to, and are usually $30 a DVD.
Wow.
Like, but then they created Criterion Channel, which was like a replacement. And I try to watch a film as much as possible in there, and I've watched probably hundreds.
Just to get that idea. And that's what it starts with. Just, you got to start with the idea. You start with the idea, and then you go from there.
Watching all these films, it caused me to go from making this action thing, this stupid action thing that didn't really have much of a plot to it, but over time, from watching more and more of these art films and classic films, I started to have like this sense of realness to it. This something that felt like it was grounded in something based on the human condition, and it wasn't based on action, flashy stuff, and that's why when the guy says, and this is bring this full circle, that's why when that guy said like you want to take people to a place they want to go. I mean, yes, but there's other things to focus on. There's other that's one, that can be a target to hit.
Right.
But if that's the only thing you're trying to hit, there is this mountain of things that you learn from watching like classic cinema, that these great auteurs, these masters of cinema, that they were aiming for greater and greater targets that just I never even think of going into the movie, because I'm like, like I don't know where some of these movies are going to go until I finish it, and I'm like, and then if I watch it again, I'm like, oh, I how did I not see where that was going? But you have to see it to know.
Yeah. Because
it's and it feels like such an alien thing. Like you watch a Kurosawa film, like that's what inspired George Lucas with Star Wars.
Right.
Like his film Hidden Fortress was such a that's what Star Wars The New Hope started as. Like he was rewriting that script, and it started with these two peasants who get caught up in this bigger adventure. That's R2D2 and C3PO.
Wow. And that's how Star Wars started.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
And there was also the Darth Vader-esque character who's this samurai who was, turned to the wrong side, because of it. There's a bit of a tragic story to it, but ultimately becomes good at the end of the film. But George Lucas expanded that into a saga. And then you also used the planets, the orchestra, the symphony or whatever, the planets, and then Rite of Spring by Stravinsky, which are classic music pieces that he sent. He did temp music. He basically, where you take music that exists and you basically you edit to that, and then you say to the composer, I can't get this out of my head, do something similar, which is a terrible way to direct your composer. But that ended up becoming the classic music of Star Wars.
Yeah, to add to that.
And then
music is a big thing.
Yeah.
And when I write, I, especially a particular scene, I'll listen to the music that I visualize, being in that scene, and it always helps me. Especially like with the bebops, I could do that with the rock and roll and the jazz.
Yeah, I'm always listening to like Mozart, or not Mozart, Beethoven or Hans Zimmer.
Classical music.
Hans Zimmer.
I listen
It's
a
a
lot
mix
to
of
classical music.
modern and score, like film score, and Hans and Beethoven classical and Rite of Spring and
I like it.
Planets. That inspired Star Wars soundtrack. But and then also it's Star Wars is based on mythology from like Joseph Campbell and Carl Jung's work on which is with anthropology, and disseminating these symbols and archetypes that live through the ages, and when you see it, it's just like this really complex mixtape, pretty much, like, of all these different things, and it's a collage of all this and a remix, and it's like passes it off. It's like, here. I mean, he's not even like George Lucas isn't even like hiding that. Like there's interviews. Look up Hidden Dragon, and there's an interview of him talking about the inspiration that Hidden Dragon had on Star Wars. But I've talked about this before with somebody. But yeah,
that's impressive though. I did not know that.
Yeah, no,
it's interesting. It's interesting to see how people get their inspiration or their idea.
Yeah. But like Star Wars was based on several things that were really really popular and really had an effect on people. But yeah, wait.
And they took the audience where they want it to be.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's a great example of it.
Yep. You take them to space,
But how could an indie filmmaker make Star Wars? That has to be like a big budget film.
Green screen.
Yeah. You could probably do it.
That dreaded thing, the green screen. I've after doing that animation though, I'm like, I could if I had like real trouble with putting together World War II film or any film, I could do it with green screen foreseeably, but it would add a lot of time to doing it, because that animation was supposed to be done in a month or two.
If you ever look at an animation movie, if you look at the credits, there's just like thousands of people involved. I mean, and you need
those people, because like that's how you get it done in time.
Yeah.
And, like, get it done under deadline. But real quick, what inspired you to write this?
So I was at my fiance's parents' house last spring, and her father actually started telling me about the giant hornets, and how there's giant hornets coming over from Asia on the West Coast. And they're kind of threatening honeybees here in America. And basically, like, one nest of giant hornets can wipe out like a whole hive of honeybees. So like 30 hornets can wipe out like a 30,000 honeybee hive.
Damn.
So I thought it was interesting. So I was like, oh, that's cool. So I wanted to do more research into that. I wanted to look into it. Well, it was just like something interesting, and I think that was pretty popular.
Yeah.
In the spring, like the giant hornet thing, I think it's starting to come back again. Yeah. So I looked into it, and basically the honeybees here in America don't have a natural defense to giant hornets. But there's honeybees in Asia that do have a natural defense to giant hornets. So when a giant hornet comes to a hive in Asia, the bees will surround it and they vibrate around it, and they call it dancing.
So that was real.
No, it's real. That is real. That's
your film, by the way. You want me to cut that?
So they vibrate and they call it dancing, and that just gave me that idea. So I was like, oh, that's a cool idea. They danced to kill the giant hornet.
I forgot to put that question down, but I realized that would have been a spoiler.
It definitely is a spoiler. But
do you mind if I keep that in?
No, I mean, okay. It's.
But that's based on actual fact.
Yeah. And I was like, that's a cool idea.
I thought that.
So it creates like heat. It creates so much heat that it actually like burns the giant hornet alive. But I couldn't go there with a kid's film.
Yeah.
So I had to make it a little.
There was a video. I think it was there's Robin Black fight breakdowns. He's like this person who like basically like watches, like he does like fight breakdowns of like real fights. Like he's a real commentator, and he actually does like professional MMA like breakdowns. But he does these occasional ones. He does a lot of Instagram. If you follow his Instagram, he does like all these breakdowns of funny fight videos from like street fights and all this, like really like terrible people who don't know what they're doing with fighting and things where people probably getting hurt. But he points that out, and he's because he's real he's real conscious of that. But it's like he does like breakdowns of the praying mantis versus the murder hornet, and the praying mantis fucks that thing up.
That's
it just those things.
that's one thing that
just those claws, like they're strong, man. That thing, the strength of that thing for its size, like that thing could, if it was our size, it would just chop us in half like that, man.
Yeah.
Oh man, those things are nasty. But yeah, he does some funny like little animal or insect breakdowns occasionally. But like, they're so funny. Look up Robin Black.
I'll have to look it up.
That is funny. After this, Robin Black. But yeah. So I asked you how long have you been writing? How do you? Yeah. So how? What is your process in developing the story this story? Because it's like I really liked it, and it's like I felt you didn't have really any missing parts. I couldn't even spot anything to give you feedback wise.
Really?
I mean, here's the thing. I suggest you if you want like feedback or somebody who might be able to give you some good feedback is but I'm not sure because I couldn't think of anything. Like Norman West, who I tried to link you up with because he was
I met him before on another set.
Pryor's film.
Yeah, good guy.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He's a good writer, great writer. I mean, and he points things out where I'm like, oh, why does he have to point these things out? Because now I have to fix it.
But it helps.
But as soon as he points out, I'm like, yep. Is that something you had a lot with this film? Or the script, because it's like I feel like I bet like I was guaranteeing like if this were my writing, this would have been after loads of feedback.
So I did have someone who was giving me feedback. I don't know if you ever met Kevin Ostra.
Yeah,
he's another independent filmmaker, director, actor.
He's a director on the short film.
Yeah, really, really great guy. Yeah, he actually helped me with my first screenplay. And we kind of collaborated back and forth, and then he gave me some feedback on the bebops as well. So I did have someone giving me some feedback.
Yeah.
But like I said, I started with Satori, and that really helped me kind of figure out what I needed to fix for the next one. And then actually, I just remember the book. It's called The Nutshell Technique by Jill Chamberlain. And what I did was I started with the format. I outlined what I wanted in the 3-act structure. And I kind of put like little bullet points of the storyline as I went through. Mm-hmm. And then with that, I just started writing scene by scene. Mm-hmm. But I had to do a lot of research beforehand on bees, on giant hornets, because like I just told you, a lot of that stuff is real with the dancing. And then I had to do a lot of research with the music, the 50s, with the dancing. And I had to do that beforehand as well.
How long did it take you to write it?
Month and a half.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I was writing like 8 to 10 hours a day.
Damn.
Or doing something related to it, research, So, and when I do something, I'm focused on it, and I can stick with it for a long period of time. And that's what I was doing every day when I was off, when I wasn't working as a trooper. Yeah. So.
And was it like one draft, or was it multiple, or like how does that work out, or how does that factor in? Like, were you doing like you were like perfecting it as you went?
Yeah, I think for that one I came up with the first draft, and I would write a couple scenes and I'd read them to my fiance, and she'd give me some feedback. And then after the first draft on that one, I sent it to Kevin Ostra, and he gave me some feedback. Mm-hmm. And obviously a couple rewrites, and it's still a work in progress. Yeah. That one, I still need to do definitely a lot with that. Still, there's some areas that I could definitely fix and further develop.
My process is messy. Like so like for the World War II film I'm working on, so that started with that was born. It exploded on like initially with basically like it came into being, I would say, because I was watching I was in the middle of working on Feeding Fire, like we were shooting it, and I was just in the zone, and then I had this I was watching I had the idea for it, and it was based on an old like World War II film I was trying to work on in high school, about two paratroopers, you know, different injuries that, you know, made them have to depend on each other. And basically kind of grew from that. And basically I was watching, what is his name? David Lynch.
Okay.
His masterclass on filmmaking and creativity. And he brought up the fact that, you know, how he comes up with films is you fill a box with index cards or you know, and basically what you do is, you know, it's think of it like you're fishing. You have this desire for an idea, which is the bait you put on the hook, and you cast your line out, and then you catch a fish with that. And that fish is an idea, and you cast, you reel it in, and then you pull it out and you examine it. And that process of examination is basically having an idea come to you. Don't lose it. Write it down immediately on paper, and then you basically you examine. That's your examination process, and now you have it. You put it in the box, and putting that in the box, metaphorically, is basically like putting it back, that fish on the hook, casting it out again for another idea, and that fish will bring along other fish.
Right,
Another
so you
fish,
add more to that idea.
It'll come along, and it'll be related in some way to that idea. You might not know immediately, but you'll figure out how it all relates together, and you also kind of direct your mind. If you meditate at all, you direct your mind towards, you know, how could this relate to the other idea, or where should I go next with this? And that is also another way of putting like bait on the hook.
Yeah, it's just like you're adding layers to
and you
that
just keep
initial idea,
casting it out, and like I think like that technique, the nutshell technique, I guarantee it's like that might be a form of casting your line out, where you know you know what you're looking for. She probably lays out a technique, a process that gets your brain thinking in a problem solving process that leads you to the ideas you need to put together a story that is coherent, that has all the parts, that feels like it works, you know. And I think that's what and David Lynch's process is more for it can be like that, or it can be for things that are just way out there. Like, have you ever seen a David Lynch film? Watch Eraserhead.
Okay.
I was out of my fucking seat, like screaming at the TV because my friend had me watching it. I'm like, how is this gonna get any worse? Like, dude, like this can't get any weirder. This can't get any weirder. It gets weirder. It gets weirder. Gets weirder, and you're only halfway through, and it goes to way like the weirdest places that my imagination in my nightmares couldn't even think of. Is it
good? I mean, is that a good thing?
It's an art film, Dan. Like, yeah. It's a masterpiece. It's an experience. I'll say that. Check out Eraserhead by David.
Okay, I'll definitely check it out.
But be warned, man. You're going into it like, I want to watch the weirdest of the weird.
And you're gonna be like, how did he think of stuff like that?
Dude, and it's basically, so to know, like, to give a little context to it, you're basically going into the head of a guy who, you know, is you know, has like mental illness, you know, and you kind of see the mental illness in these really, really bizarre worlds that he puts together in that film. And it's one of those films where if you want to like film yourself, your reaction to it, or your fiance's reaction, she's gonna be like, "Why did you make me watch this?"
Yeah.
Just blame it on me. Be like, the guy who wants to shoot your wedding." Don't say that. Actually, she's gonna be like, "I don't want him shooting the wedding anymore." Regardless of, you know, it's cool with me if you're going with me or not. But you know, but no, that's a weird film. But it's like the way he came up with it is putting ideas in the box, and it, when you do that, you're not restricted to a process that feels cliched or feels like formulaic or anything, because I mean that's what really generally happens when you're working from any kind of guideline. But here's the thing,
because you don't want to be too structured.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I believe in guidelines, like Feeding the Fire,
because then there's no creativity.
Yeah, like Feeding the Fire used a lot of structure to it. It wasn't like this like art film that went any which direction. It was kind of an artsy film that I was going for, but what I didn't tell a lot of people, or I did, it was like it had classical structure to it. Like save the like Blake Snyder's beat sheet, Save the Cat book, his beat sheet in that, which was basically like the catalyst, at least the break in Act 2, all these different things. And I mean, it has that, but I've internalized the meaning behind those structures. And I've also compared it to, like, I used this corkboard back in the day to compare it to mythology, archetypes for storylines, all these different things. And in an effort to kind of figure out what are the possibilities with stories, because you need rules in some degree to get your brain thinking in the right direction. And I do kind of think in terms of like,
do you use the 3-act structure?
Yeah, I mean, in a sense, like I actually call it the 4-quarter structure. That's based on based on how I compare them all and lump them all together. The first quarter is like you're establishing like the problem of the story, and then you're getting the character to go from debating going to doing it, like they're against it, but then by the end of the first quarter, which is basically the first act, you get them to go doing it.
Right. Yep.
And they're committed. And you get rid of any, hesitancy.
So they're committed to getting what they want. Yes. But then there's usually a catch. There's usually a catch to it.
What's that? What is that?
So in this technique, the nutshell technique. So in the beginning, like you said, you develop your character, mm-hmm. you give them a want and a desire, and then at the end of the first act, they end up getting that want, mm-hmm. but there's a catch. So if you look at Bernie, for instance, he wanted to dance. He wanted to, to pursue that as his passion. And at the end of the first act, he gets it because he gets separated from his hive. Mm-hmm. But the catch is, he's separated from his hive. His hive is now threatened. He doesn't know what he's going to do with the rest of his life. But he has that opportunity now that he can go and dance.
Yeah,
and
that's
pursue
an interesting
that passion.
way of putting it.
And then what I did was at the end of the second act, it's the opposite. So he doesn't want to dance anymore. He just wants to go back to being in a normal hive and forget about that dream that he had.
That's where I'm
and that's where you get that.
I definitely could use that.
That opposite, the irony.
I'm getting that freaking book, man.
You got to get it. I'm telling you. And then and you don't want to add too much structure, like you were saying. I get what you're saying, but just to put something down, and then you get creative from that.
Yeah,
and then you start getting cool ideas from that.
Dude, that's a good way of. I wish I came across this book sooner.
But then that's the character's rock bottom. So the character Flaw. So Bernie's is his insecurities, and so that's his like rock bottom. He doesn't fit in his hive. He doesn't fit in this new place, Bugsville. He doesn't fit in with this new band. So this is his rock bottom, and then after that, he starts moving towards being secure.
Yeah,
and fully developing.
That's what I like about that. It's So basically, like my way of doing it is like the first quarter, the first act is basically he's getting him into that storyline. Second quarter is like it's the meat and potatoes. It's what they came for. It's the fun games. It's the buddy story. It's like the love story. This is what
you need
the audience came for.
Entertaining in the second act.
And it's it's progression. It's getting it's moving forward, getting what we want or what we think we want, which is actually like it's interesting to compare that to what the catch thing is. Then the midpoint is where you get where you think you want, or you in mythology terms you might find it's the meeting with the goddess, or the mother figure, or this benevolent force that is nurturing you, but then you have to confront the father figure, which is in quarter 4 or quarter 3, which is like the second part of Act 3 or no Act 2, where things kind of start going downhill.
Right,
like bad guys catch up, all these things,
and that's like then the character's rock bottom is at the end of.
And that's why I was following your script, and I was like, you're nailing those, but you're doing things that I've never I guarantee I could learn from. In terms of like that process, I'm gonna get in that book. Like as soon as this is done, I'm going on Amazon, ordering it, finding it.
Yeah, man,
I'm gonna devour it.
Yeah, and I didn't use that book for my first screenplay, and I had no structure. I don't even think I had like a 3-act.
But it can help to figure out what the structure is to you. But no, I know what you mean. And that like once, but no, like the fact that you did a short film, you wrote a short film and learned from that. that's what helped me with Feeding the Fire, was like Feeding the Fire. Because I did that.
So did you start it with a short film?
I started with like Feeding the Fire was, once I got that done, like I before I was making short films in high school, they weren't that great. And then I tried to take a step, like I was trying to work on something and it kept ballooning into like a bigger feature film. I didn't start with the intent of making a feature film. I started with trying to perfect the short film, which always happens. And that short film becomes a feature film.
Yeah. That's where
it becomes quicksand, man. And that's what, like, so I was doing that, and that's what led to years of me not making a film, because I just got stuck in that. And then, so I had to make this really solid short film that followed all the rules in a way, or did things right, but also went beyond the rules and did things right for me, which felt like this feels like a good human story that doesn't feel contrived or artificial or formulaic. It feels like this is something that can, it feels real. Like, it feels like this is advice that I'd give to a friend, like on a podcast or something. It's not some story I came up with that's fake, just for the sake of feeling, you're checking the marks on the like the book about story structure that I was following. It's like, no, this is something that feels real, but it also kind of, in a way, follows it to a degree. So that did that for me, to a degree. And then from that inspired like how I would reapproach Rusty Spade, rewriting that, doing all these different things. That's where Boys Be Boys came from, and I'm actually still, that's going to be my next film. Before the World War II film. Boys Be Boys.
Okay.
The one where it's like a bunch of dudes who are like repressed, living in a world where it's like run by women.
Whatever happened to Jody? Because actually,
I think
that was like the second one I was going to do with you.
Yeah, that was the project where I
remember auditioning for that in what was the bar in Westchester?
Yeah,
Barnaby's or
Barnaby's. That was the film where I was becoming a yes man with. So I basically what happened was I had a 4-hour meeting with this DP guy who he was way ahead of me, like, just, and that's why I was like, I need to work with this dude,
right.
And I kind of we in that 4-hour meeting, we kind of deconstructed what was wrong with Feeding the Fire, and I was like, all right. And then he's like, but if we do something different, like, I'd be on board. I'd shoot that. I mean, I'd shoot this, but I wouldn't be happy with it. And so I like started like working on, like we started like beating out or like planning out, the beats of the short film, and before my eyes, like, it took me a month to come up with Feeding the Fire, but like before my eyes, I'm watching this dude come up with a short film in like minutes. Like I'm like how like, because I'd spent years trying to come up with things and getting lost in the quicksand, and because I guess my ADHD.
So maybe you do just need some structure, because you have the creativity. It sounds like you have a ton of creativity. Maybe I've been
succeeding, but I'm always looking for structure. You're right. But
and almost like a plan.
Yeah.
And you don't have to follow the plan 100%, but at least you have something like an idea.
Yeah, I need
like an outline
approach, because like my brain will go a million directions at once, and that's good, but it's also bad because I have to find a way to contain it.
Yeah.
You have to contain it within the box. Limitation is freedom. Limitation is like what creates what gives you possibilities and makes a person versus a god or some, not even a person.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you have to have limitations, and that's what nature of creativity is. And so, but I was working with this dude, and I in my mind I was trying to do this to the best of my degree, and I thought I was like, I totally want to like this idea we're making, but it after the first draft of writing it, based on like what we talked about, I just hated myself. I was like, what am I doing? Like, I felt like a shell of my former self. Like, you feel like, and I was immediately, okay, no, I can't do this. And then I had a backstage ad already out there, and I messaged everybody individually. I was like, hey, blah, blah, blah name. Like, oh, this is why I can't do this. Like I feel like I'm, not doing something that's true to myself. I'm like, and then I told my friend who was working with me at the time, and he's like, you did what? And then immediately, immediately when somebody like gives me like hard feedback on something, like I immediately overcorrect and I'm like, oh God, what did I do? And so then
So you felt like you were in over your head basically, and then because of that, you just pulled back and canceled the project.
I feel like I was making a film that went against my beliefs and on like what the kind of like it felt like I was lying to the audience. Like I just felt like I was lying to people. I don't like lying. I can't stand it. And it's like back when I was in like middle school, you know, we were supposed to get our parents' signature on like tests or something. And this is a funny story. And basically I forgot and I was like, oh shit, I'm not going to get credit for this. And so I faked my mom's signature. And then I was like, all right, cool. And then at the end of the class, she's like, all right, everybody who forgot, you know, like I'll give you till next week, the weekend to like fix it. And I'm like, oh, why did I do that?
Horrible.
After the class, everybody left. I went to the teacher, told her, I was like, I forged my mom's signature. I'm sorry. I just felt like, you know, like, and she's like, it's fine, it's whatever. And I was like, and I told my mom that story. She laughed, and I was like, that's me to this day, because I can't like when I agree like with the wedding stuff, your wedding thing. I when I was talking to you, I told you guys I can totally. Sorry if I spit. I can totally match that photographer that you're working with like look. And I was like, yeah, I can totally match it without, like, I saw it for a glimmer, like, on the screen, and I was like, oh, shit, what did I just say? I was like, oh, well, I guess I'll have to figure that out now.
Yeah, but it's okay, because, you know, we want something different.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Yeah. But, yeah, it's like, I went for, immediately after, I was like, all right, let's see if I can figure this out. So I tried, and I took a few hours trying to do a bunch of stuff, and I've also tried it like since then with everything I've learned. Every time it's like I think I don't know what she does, but I'm pretty sure at this point whatever she does, it just either doesn't look good on video or it doesn't look good on these cameras.
Yeah, I think she might use some kind of filter.
Yeah,
but well, I think your point is you have to be true to yourself, and you can't do something that isn't you. So, but I totally get that. I totally
reached out to Sophia. I was like, I'm sorry. I told you I could match this look. I'm really sorry. I can't do it. I gotta stick to.
Yeah, no, and I got that 100%.
Is to shoot your wedding and to say I can make the look.
And work. It doesn't look that way. Yeah.
See, the thing is like with lying, it's like what you do is you're like with what I've heard from Jordan Peterson. If you listen to him,
I do a little bit.
Dude, he's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, he breaks things down, makes it concrete in ways that, like, I'm like, you know it, you feel it, but you don't know how to verbalize it. But he does it exceptionally well. Lying is it just causes more problems, and in life, it's like it's really hard to solve the problems you have on your own. You know, what you really need a lot of times is to work with others to solve the problems, and the way to solve problems with others is to identify those problems. Identify them with other people, say, okay, this is what the problem is, be honest about it, and then you have teammates that you can work together with, aid in fixing that problem. And so, yeah, like that's why I believe in like that, and also it's like you create more stress and more problems when you lie, and it's
Absolutely.
Like it catches up with you, and that's why I think I really just I was looking at that Jodie film and I was like, I just feel like this isn't the film I set out to make, because I had that.
Yeah, and if you're not passionate about a film or project, I mean, why would you do it? Because you're not going to put in the effort that you should put into it, and it's not going to end up turning out.
When you're making a film,
turning out good,
stressful as hell, because you have to put all these things together.
It's a lot of moving pieces, and I'm doing it now with Resignation.
Yeah.
And
it's tough, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, matching everyone's schedule and just getting everyone on the same page.
Don't make your beard white. I'll get into that.
I noticed that
for you. I've talked about it with everybody on the podcast. So I'll get into that. But yeah,
Can I use?
Okay, yeah, we can take we'll keep it rolling.
Okay.
I think. But yeah, no, I've got some jumping off points to get back into this when we get started again. All the dust in here, man.
This is great though, dude. I like the background.
Yeah.
I saw the first one you did, was that like up in?
It was at David's place.
Okay.
And we just did a table with a 3D printer and all this mess in the background.
But this looks like professional. This looks, you know. Shit.
like, what could I knew that these sound panels would look really nice, and I thought instead of just having them side by side and all that, having something between them. That's where I got the high contrast gold.
You got the gold, and then you got the
green. It looks kind of like the green letters on my logo and whatnot. But yeah, so
that's good.
So we're back. We just had a little break,
little bathroom break.
But where we were was why we didn't do Jody. Why didn't I do that? And why did I feel like I was lying to the audience? I didn't realize it when I was first, getting into it and going this new route of doing this other film than what Feeding the Fire was. And it wasn't my story. It wasn't like Feeding the Fire was actually based on real life situations. Where I was this, where looking back, I was a bit of a what is it? They call them simps now.
What?
Not really, but just in a sense of being a guy who's like a beta male. Like I'm trying not to be that anymore. Like I think I've succeeded thus far. So yeah, like I don't like I'm more direct about my feelings. I don't like I'm not gonna allow myself to get in a situation where I'm friend zoned, where I'm like friends with a girl that I like and I don't tell her. I've been in that situation. That was what that film was about. And that's what was real about it. Now, what happened with Jody was, it was fascinating how the DP, I'm not going to say his name unless he wants to talk to me on here, but it's, he, and I'm not going to say anything bad about him. I feel like I was, I wasted his time. I didn't mean to. It wasn't, but I felt like I had to tell the truth and cut things off, or like I made something, or it was driving me nuts. But
was that a short film?
Yeah, it was a short film.
It was, okay.
But it was just killing me because it was. So what happened was we reworked it from the inspiration of Feeding the Fire. And he showed me how we could, rework it, and he asked me what that film was about, all these different things. And then we reworked it into things that fit the boxes for him in terms of story, which I kind of draw on still to a degree.
So you guys kind of came up with it together?
Yeah, what I didn't realize at the time was, and I was in denial of after the 4-hour meeting we had, which was like, it was his interpretation of my story, and that and not only that, but I don't want to get into that, but it was like his interpretation of my story, and it didn't come from this like meditative place that I was trying to come from, that felt real and honest, like something that I put a lot of thought into. It was just something we came up with on the spot. And
right.
It was cool, but it was just cool. It didn't resonate with me.
Yeah, you just weren't passionate about it, and that makes sense.
And it didn't feel honest and real to me because it felt like it was his interpretation of my story, which, I have a better understanding of my own situation, my story that it's based on than he did. And I should have knew that at the time. And it caught up with me because every time I wrote the script and the first draft, I did my best with it, but I hated it. But I was like, all right, well, we'll figure this out. Then we got together again and we reworked every single line of the script based on he's like, no, you got to change this, and I had to audio record that meeting because, and which was another red flag that I should have realized, because when a good idea is good for me, I don't have to write it down. I don't have to record it. It sticks. If it's a good idea, it sticks. You don't have to write it down, which is an interesting caveat when it comes to David Lynch saying you have to write things down to really flesh it out. There are times where you have to do that. There are times where you have to write the idea about it down, but sometimes you want to let it marinate.
Yeah.
You don't feel like it's complete yet. You want to marinate it and let it, there's a point where you write and there's a point where you don't. You have that's something that you know better than anybody else for your own process. Now, I should have took that as a red flag, the fact that I couldn't, none of the ideas he talked about stuck. And he knew that. He's like, you have to write all this stuff down. Constantly, he was like, you have to write these things down. Now, that went against everything I'd learned from all these writers I had learned from thus far in terms of writing. It's like, the best ideas stick. This guy was blogging about, or was writing a blog about the World Trade Center and all that stuff, and his notes from being there, and he had to write about his time in the top of the tower where the bar was, after the tower went down, and it was like going to be this kind of like deep, like reflective piece. But he lost all his notes, and then some writer told him, the good stuff sticks. Don't worry about the note.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the details. What you were drinking, all that stuff.
Right.
It'll come to you. And so, and now I think that was Cal Fussman. But yeah, he it's like the good ideas stick, and Stephen King says that too. And I had to listen through the entire audio and re-listen to it just to write this new version of the script based on what he was saying. And once I had written it, I just felt like this isn't even me.
It's
like,
not you anymore. You weren't feeling it.
Yeah, I was depressed. I was like, and dude, so there were some actors who I was talking to at the time who I was trying to cast for it. That was their first impression of me. And it was probably a horrible first impression because I was all over the place. I was having a meeting at Colonial Gardens, this like flower shop where I was doing casting sessions there. I was like, what are you doing, Tom? Like, like I have these actors coming. Like, imagine the weirdest like audition place you could go to. Go to like a flower shop where there's like really loud fans everywhere. It's like, all right, let's do this.
Who's this guy?
Yeah, no,
I think Jody might have been one of my first actually speaking. It would have been one of my first speaking roles.
Yeah. What was your first role?
I was in a Temple student film called Strays.
Yeah.
So I was like the antagonist. I was this crazy drunk brother.
Yeah. Wait.
And I helped them with the stunt choreography, the fight choreography, because my character gets killed at the end of the film.
Yeah.
So I think that was my first one.
Yes, and then which number were we when we got to Rusty Spade? Was that your like third or what, fourth or?
My second or third.
Okay.
At that point.
You know what? Hell with it.
It's crazy how it just kind of blurs.
That film. So I think there's a lot of things that went on with that. And if I were to go back, there's many things I would probably redo. But in honesty, I may not. If I were to redo it, I wouldn't even do that film. I'd probably done something different. I would have wrote something new, and from the ground up, something completely original, based on my abilities with writing and coming up with stories at the time, because that had evolved. I was sticking back to something that I was trying to impress people with. I think that film was just trying to create something impressive, and that's not really the right mindset to come from. I had just come from finishing Feeding the Fire, finishing most of the editing. I was just waiting on the composer to finish his scoring of it. And I was like, I need to go do something. And I didn't plan on putting Feeding the Fire out because my friends were like, no, let's not put this out. Let's put the festivals. But I was like, I want something new on my website. So let's get something done immediately so that people think that I'm actually a filmmaker.
So that's where Rusty Spade came from.
And that's why I was like, let's do it in 2 months, like a month or two. And let's do a single day shoot. We'll do it in a week. Well, no, it was Norman's idea. He'll tell you it wasn't, but it was
the one take shot.
I was saying, let's do it all in one take. Let's have a day or a few days where we do 40 takes.
Like 1917.
Yeah, man. That was the whole thing.
Was that out yet, or did you just come out with that?
It was my idea of just doing a one take thing. I mean, there was other one take films that inspired me, but I was like, let's do a one take film. Let's do this all in one take, because I couldn't really think of like how I wanted to do each different shot. Like I didn't have an idea of, and I that was also another red flag that, doing that film, I had done it because I was that way, because I was doing a lot of I was shooting a lot of videos for bands at the time, and basically I got into this groove of shooting things in one take.
Okay.
Because I only had one camera, it was just me, and I would actually handheld do all these different camera movements, but kind of maintain a consistent shot that was watchable, and that's where it came from. I was like, let's. I could move this way, and people were like, "Whoa, that's like it's so immersive." It's like, and I felt that way. It's like you feel like it's just, it keeps evolving, and it was really just an improvised method of shooting.
Yeah.
It's kind of like improvised acting, and I thought that would be so cool to do a film like that. But I and that also came from Feeding the Fire. The takes that I liked the most were like the single takes that we nailed it in one take, and I just I think I should have not done that so much with that film, where I relied on that so much, because I think it made the film slightly boring to some people. But I mean, I really felt more natural to me in editing when I was sitting there glued to the screen. Any slight alteration, any cut that felt artificial, I could sense it. Anytime you cut to a performance to another performance, the performance is never the same, and it's impossible. It's physically impossible. And that's what you want from a good performance, where it's slightly different each time.
Right.
And when you're cutting to different performances, like I got sick of it. I got sick of watching it, I think. And I think that's my fault. Also, I think it's part of my fault because it's a failure of mine to, in the way I shot it and the things we managed to get, and I had to do it a certain way, cut it a certain way, because I didn't shoot it the way I originally planned, because I wasn't looking at my notes. Really what it came down to was I learned from that and Feeding the Fire and Rusty Spade. And then ultimately, I really learned this on the animation storyboard, or shot list, and storyboard everything.
Okay.
Because when I did the animation, that storyboarding process, I felt a vision for the shots. Like I felt they flowed together because I tested it. I drew them, and I on the page I looked from this frame to this frame. That was the new shot. And I could, in my head, visualize on paper, just right there,
right.
The cut. That was the cut. It cut from that shot to that shot. You can see how it cuts together, and you can kind of, from that, be like, it would be interesting if we don't cut to that, we'll cut to a different shot, and we try another frame. And then you can experiment with cutting and visuals and composition and framing, and basically it's like a first or third draft of writing a script, but it's for filmmaking.
Right.
I'm doing that from every film, like from now on. Like that, like Boys Be Boys.
So Rusty Spade was a good learning experience.
I mean, because I didn't do any prep work for the shots.
It was definitely a great acting experience.
Yeah.
I felt like
I figured that all. We figured that all like on the day.
On the spot.
I mean,
with the blood and everything, throwing that in there.
Yeah, I spent like
changing the. How many times did I have to change my white shirt, my white.
Crazy. But it's like I did 15 hours of prep work for the performances. Like I do this thing from the book Judith Weston. I can recommend to you. It's let me write it down. My notes are going everywhere. Judith Weston. And her book Directing Actors. It's the red one, the red and black one, the red and black cover. That's the first one that I really recommend because it has the hard, fast tools that you can use as a director to prep yourself on what to say to the actors. Because here's the thing, like when you have a script, you're not ready to direct the actors. It's kind of like the process from that book you were telling me about for screenwriting. It's like you're not ready to write it, or you don't have a finished script if you just have an idea. It's like you have to know what you're thinking about with the story, or you brainstorm a lot of ideas, and then brainstorm ways to progressively bring those ideas closer and closer to actionable directions. Like a verb is a actual direction, or like I want you to attack this person in this scene, like in the way you're talking to them, the way you're I want you to attack them with these words, or I want you to twist the knife. All these things, those are very cliched things that you get to, but you arrive at those through this process of like you start from this. Like there's 4 different graphs that you or charts that you fill out based on reading through the script, and you also before that you cross out things that are not actionable and things that the actors don't really need to listen to, like stage direction. You can actually, that's as the director and directing the actors on set, that's up to you. It's not the writer's job.
Right.
I mean, I just write it there. You just write it as a writer to make it make sense when you read it.
Just like the story.
But yeah, you take it's a process of getting you from the raw feelings you have about what's going on, and you can say whatever you write whatever comes to mind when you write at the beginning of the process. But over the time, you're looking at what you wrote about the raw ideas, and you're rereading it again, and you're saying, all right, how can I slowly do this? and you have to, each category is getting you closer and closer and closer to actionable things that you can say to the person. And then once you're done, it takes an hour per page, I've found, on average. So if you have like
to prep as a director,
if you have a 95 page
wow.
feature film script, you're going to be spending 95 hours if you're going to do this properly, probably, or less. I don't know if you do it like, but I mean, that's like really like solid hours of productivity.
So do you need the shot list as a director, or is that more the director of photography?
I think director, yes. You need, as the director, you should not only do this acting prep exercise, you like, that's what I plan to do. Also the shot list and the storyboarding. I think because the director, it's the director's job to know what camera angles. It's not the DP's. It's the DP is to help you make those shots beautiful on the day, because your focus is on the actors.
So the director comes up with the shot
list,
and then
I mean, it depends.
Or coordinates with the DP.
You want the DP to come up with it.
Because I'm learning all this now with this film, Resignation, and I'm acting as the executive producer.
Yeah.
And I'm coordinating with these guys, and it's just
they might have their own way of doing it.
Right.
But I think it's best, look at, great filmmakers like Stanley Kubrick. He didn't leave that up to the DP. He almost fired a DP on one of his earliest films because, I don't know if you Stanley Kubrick, like 2001 Space Odyssey, Full Metal Jacket.
Okay, yeah. Wow.
Like this dude, like the DP tried to, change lens and saying, we can do it closer. We don't have to do move all this like stuff around the props and move this wall. We can do it closer if we do this lens. And he's like, go back to the wide lens, because he wanted it because it had the distortion, because it was closer, or you're fired. Get out. Like, if you're not going to do it my way, get the fuck out.
Oh my gosh.
But, you watch his films, there's the reason he's, by a lot of people, regarded as one of the greatest filmmakers, and so...
Because he sees that vision and he sticks with that vision.
Him and like Martin Scorsese, they're like great filmmakers are like like grandmasters at chess.
Yeah.
They look at the board and see almost the entire or the entire game playing
like a bigger
out
picture
in the you see their brain solving like 10 steps ahead, or 100 steps ahead,
right.
That's how it is. And so, but yeah, as a director, you want to plan the shots and then do their prep work with actors, and that's what I did with Rusty Spade. That's where, when we were doing the rehearsal, that 5-hour rehearsal that took it out of me the day before the shoot, which was a terrible idea. That took the energy
we probably should have rehearsed a little bit more.
We should have did it like I think
just because it was the one take shot.
Yeah,
because we had to be on.
We should have did it on the location. I think that I'm gonna do that from now on. I'm not gonna rehearse before shoots. I don't think. Somebody's convinced me that, and a lot of things have convinced me to actually just film the rehearsal, just all and go through it on the set, because
then you can see it as a director or a director of photography. You can kind of see the shots, and that makes the process go quicker on the actual shoot day. Because for Resignation, we are doing like a rehearsal, a full blown dress rehearsal the week of, a couple days before.
Okay.
Just to figure that out, but it's different though with the fight choreography.
Yeah, that you definitely
need to figure that out beforehand.
Yeah. Kind of reminds me of the Punisher. There was these stuntmen actually choreographed this one. I actually seen in the gym where they like were throwing around weights and busting people up with them. Like the stunt choreographers planned shot it with a crappier phone, like a crappier camera, and then the production team watched that and we're like, all right, let's do it exactly as you did it. And it's one of the best scenes. That's cool. Really cool. I'll probably forward that to you.
That's in the movie The Punisher?
Or the show.
Oh, the show. Okay.
Yeah, the show.
I haven't seen the show.
Bernthal. I haven't watched it all either, but my friend keeps telling me about it. But I saw that on YouTube. But no. Yeah. So where was I going with this? But yeah, it's when you do that prep work with actors. Once you do it all, you do that like maybe 100 hours. Like if you're doing a feature film, you're doing like probably almost 100 hours of prep. Hopefully not, and for the actors end. If you do this process, but if you do, once you do it, you throw it away. You don't throw it away, but you don't look at it. When you're on set, you know exactly what to say to the actors. Now, the reason I don't want to rehearse ahead of time is because I feel like there's so much potency to what I'm going to say to the actors, and then it's going to instantly get them into that headspace very quickly. And what I found with rehearsals was I felt this sense of like imposter syndrome or this. I felt like I was unconfident going in until I saw the performance I was after in rehearsal. But that doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
Once you get that performance in rehearsal, it's gone.
Yeah.
You're not going to get the same thing. And whatever you said to get that, it's going to have less potency. And you're basically using up your ammunition in rehearsal that you could be using on the shoot and getting stuff in camera.
So I think the rehearsal was good for the shots and the
Rusty Spade, we needed to do that because but like there was no way we would have finished it if we didn't rehearse it ahead of time.
Yeah.
But yeah, that film, I went into that with this ego-driven idea that I'm a badass at making films. I'm going to make this thing. We're going to do it on one take.
It looked pretty good, man. I think you did a good job with that.
I hate myself for the blunder I made of, it was a new camera setup and the battery was down here and you had to flip the camera over. It was one of these batteries right here.
Okay.
And the screen that shows the battery level is on the back. If you see up here 100%, it's not showing it always looks like 100% or AC at the top right up here. It never shows you the battery level. And I forgot to keep checking.
So it kept dying.
All the variables I had to juggle that day, it made me checking the battery less and less because I was beginning to like panic. We got to get the shot.
And then it started getting dark.
At 5 o'clock. It was 5 o'clock, and we had like a few takes that were okay.
Yeah. I think we ended the day not thinking or not knowing if we even had any good takes at all.
You are the reason. You pointed. Or I should have watched everything to the end, but I was in such it was PTSD for me to look back in a way.
Yeah, I was like, I think there was a good take, like the second or third one.
Yeah, I remembered that comment. I was like, I looked back. I was like, he's right.
Yeah.
The last two I thought we were gonna have to go with. I was like, these aren't as good.
But then it's so hard with the one take because now you're losing your energy as an actor.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of now, it's just repetitive and it's just hard to bring that performance every time.
Plus,
and that's why I was doing push-ups and trying to get amped up the whole time.
Also, I was like I think it's also I wasn't there directing you at that point. I wasn't there. It wasn't like the rehearsal where I was giving you guys direction, live live feedback. As a director, I shouldn't be doing the DP stuff or acting in the film. I should be there alongside the camera, not looking at the screen, just looking at you guys as if I'm a viewer, like an audience member in the auditorium.
But that's hard to do with the one take.
Yeah.
The one shot.
Yeah, it wouldn't have happened.
I mean, just
if I were to go back,
in between takes, you could do that.
Film again, I would storyboard everything, and it wouldn't be a single take. I would have done it in separate shots.
Right.
I mean, what?
But it worked out. It looks good, and it was a great learning experience.
Yeah.
Great challenge. I mean, that's where you grow the most is through challenges and things like that. So definitely from an acting perspective, I thought it was great. It was like a play because you can't mess up. You just start and it doesn't stop until
myself all the time
until it's over.
Because this white hair is literally because I didn't think we got it
from the Rusty Spade.
Yeah, this showed up a few days later because
way.
I thought that the white hair right there wasn't
That's from
there.
Rusty Spade.
I guarantee you look at any of the pictures of me on that.
You don't have it. No, this is the first time I'm seeing it.
Yeah,
so
the family pointed it out to me. I'm like, no, I don't. I went in the mirror. I'm like, oh shit.
Wow.
I was depressed after that shoot, for a few days. I couldn't get out. I was stumbling through my workouts. I was working out. I was good. I just was drained. I couldn't even approach.
But you found that one good take.
Yeah, and
it looks good. It looks good.
The best take though, and this kills me, is I feel bad for you guys because the best take was it felt. I mean, I watched it and I was like, oh, man, it was a bit better. The battery died because I wasn't used to checking it.
So the best take, the battery died.
Yeah. I have the audio. I can find it. Wait a minute. Where is it?
That was tough. That was a tough shoot.
Let me find it. I call it the big blunder on YouTube.
A lot of emotions in that shoot.
So what'll it be?
In that film.
But yeah, it's I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find it. I probably shouldn't be doing this. I should be focused on this right now.
Oh, the battery died. Damn it.
Never mind.
Oh,
I'll show you after.
Yeah, show me after.
But if I can play it on the screen.
So you just have the audio. You don't have video because the battery died.
Well, I have audio up to the point where it cut.
And you had audio on the
We
camera?
had to take.
You had the audio on the camera because you didn't even have
We had the
sound guy.
We had the audio from this on the camera.
Okay.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. So I feel bad for everybody involved because it's like it was, you know, I thought we were gonna have everybody behind me at every time. Like whenever I move this way, everybody's behind me. But then when you get down to like, all right, we got limited hours to do it. And I thought if we didn't get it the first day, we could do it another day. That was before we got to that day, and I was like, wait, we won't have the makeup artist until like the next day, so we have to get it today. That was sprung on me, and I was like, oh shit.
Where did you find her?
I think what's his name? T something. Guy with the beard. I forget what's his name.
Mike.
Yeah, Mike. Why am I thinking? Yeah, Mike Trago. Mike Trago.
Oh, Trago. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I'm blanking on your name, Mike.
Yeah. He had a connection.
Yeah, he had a connection. He's a cool guy. He just like connects you with people. He's like this guy who's like when I first met him, he's like, yo man, like you know, I'm just trying to get my boots wet with filmmaking and all that, and he's just like,
he's doing it right. He's just putting himself out there.
Yeah,
in
dude, he's
different projects and getting. It's all about the connections. It's all about networking.
Yeah. But so that like I thought I was gonna have a boom operator, all that, but like when it came down to it, I was thinking about like Jocko Willink's mantra, like
I'm reading his book right now.
So good. I mean, some people say it's like simple, but I'm like, that's the point. It's simple. Like I read a lot. I've read a lot of leadership books. This is a book where this dude they bled for this these like discipline. Oh, no, it was not. It was not Discipline Equals Freedom. It's a different book of his, but still it's good. It's extreme ownership, and that's what it is. It's extreme ownership of everything. The problem is yours to solve. You have to. It comes down to you. The buck stops at you, and that's what, you know. That day I was like, that's where this comes from. Is like at that day, like I was like, all right, these actors are here right now. You were there. I plan to have you on my films in the future. Like Mike as well, and David, and all these people, and you know, it's gonna be really unfair if we spend all this time here today and not get it. Whatever we get today is going out there. I felt that, and I was like, whatever we get today is gonna have to go out there, and it better be damn good. And that's where I was. That's where the white hair comes in, because I was like, it comes on me. It all lands on me. Like I did this film because I wanted to work with people that I plan to work on with much more ambitious projects in the future, right. And I want to develop a good working relationship with them. I need to prove myself to them so that they're willing to work on a bigger, more ambitious project, right. And they're willing to show up every day, and not let me down, and I'm not going to let them down, and vice versa. So that's where I was like. That's really what it came. That's really, I think, why my hair turned white and my beard is because I felt like I failed everybody. I felt like I let everybody down, and it was. And honestly, I thought it was because of my filmography. It's a stain of my filmography. It might have been some of that, but really, it came down to letting people down. That's what it comes down to. It's kind of like.
Well, you didn't let us down. I think you did. I think you did a good job. I think it turned out.
Yeah, I mean, I looked
pretty well. I mean, I used a clip from that on my acting reel. So
yeah, that's good. That's good. I'm glad for that. You know, I'm glad that everybody was able to get something from it. And I felt like, I felt like looking at the take, like this is gonna be a decent film, but like it wasn't gonna be the magic bullet take that, you know, was like a freak accident that I was aiming for. Like I thought we were gonna get 40 good takes. That's why I had all those like shirts for you. Yeah. We only used.
How many did 7. We go? How many? We only went through 7.
Or like I don't know, 10 or something.
10 takes.
I don't even know.
But I mean, because the scene itself was like 12.
Before we got to the.
It's like a 12-minute. Is it like a 12-minute film?
Yeah. But you know, I think what
and then prepping in between.
What might have helped is even if we fucked up, we should have just went all the way through, because what happened was when we stopped early in.
And that's what happened a lot in the beginning.
Yeah, it happened a lot in the beginning. What happened, because we stopped early on, we weren't learning how to solve problems at the end.
Later on, yeah.
And the beginning is shot really cool because I knew where I was going. I knew what I was doing. And it's really kind of tense and exciting because you're like, oh my God, this fucking camera guy doesn't know what the fuck he's doing either. He's got to figure it out. And so it's tense for me to watch. I'm like, but then you see like later on where it's like, all right, it's the shooting is getting, the shots are getting, but it's like, I mean, like when the take happened where the battery died, at that moment when when we were right before the battery died, I was praying to God. I was like, God, please don't let me screw this up. Please don't let me fuck this up. I would remember that vividly. I was just, please, whatever you do not.
And the battery died.
I hope that I don't mess up the focus. I hope like I'm landing focus every time. I'm getting the shots right. I know I'm like literally I'm relying on my instincts to know when to pan and when to stop because it's a 50 millimeter lens equivalent. And it's like, it's a very zoomed in lens.
Yeah, you don't have anyone guiding you around or anything.
Dude, it's all instinct.
Yeah.
All instinct, improvised. And it's different every time. And it was such a learning experience doing that. But it just, that moment I was like, oh, this is it. This is the film. And I made the mistake of judging too early that we made it. And ever since that moment, I'm like, never again assume that you've made it before you have.
You got to stay focused.
Always say to yourself, I might fail, but let's do our best not to. I say that to myself all the time now because I get into this groove where I'm like, all right, I got this. I got confidence that I can make it through. And then when I screw up, when I think that I'm going to make it, then I'm like, it destroys me. I tend to come apart in performance wise, you know, a little bit. Like I've gotten better. I'm better than, you know, usual, you know, how I used to be. But, you know, now, like, even when I haven't screwed up, I just like, I'm like, you know, I'm probably going to screw up at this, but let's try not to, you know? And then when I do screw up, I'm like, all right, I expected this. Let's go at it again.
Yeah. So it's just, it's how you look at failure, how you look at a setback. You can look at it as a bad thing, or you can look at a failure as a good thing, as an opportunity for growth, as an opportunity to get better, as an opportunity to learn a lesson. And if you look at it that way, then you're not going to worry about failing. You're not going to worry about screwing up. Yeah. Because it's just a learning process. It's you know. Yeah. It's a process where you can learn a lesson.
But you know,
that's how you have to look at failure.
I know. Yeah.
And then you'll take more risks because you're not afraid to fail.
And the beauty is, I think I look back and I'm like at the time I was like, why God, why when I was praying to you that I failed, that I screwed up.
But see, you were focused on failure.
Really, I think what it came down to though, I was like, that was the blessing. That experience, the way that it happened, everything about it propelled me to the trajectory that I'm at now, where I'm going to storyboard all my films. I'm not going to, I'm going to plan things out. I'm not going to be pushing a film that really should take several months of prep work into one or two. Like, it was literally
So that setback you learned from, you grew from, you figured out you had to
work on that.
Yeah, prep differently.
Yeah.
But see, that's a good thing.
Yeah, no, I'm glad.
So there's no need to stress.
Yeah, no, I know. At the time, I didn't know. It wasn't clear to me. But yeah, that's the thing. Like, you take those experiences, those traumatic experiences, and you kind of like, I mean, to me, it was like a form of trauma because, I mean, there's no way that this white hair shows up without it being somewhat a burden on you. But yeah, it's like,
I can't believe that's from the film.
Yeah, no, I can't either. But
that's funny, man.
No, I don't. I just dyed it so I could make this story up every time. No, but wait, so let me see what are the thoughts? Also, there's some other things I was going to mention. Your script is super funny. Like, I was just laughing out loud.
Really?
Yeah, dude.
That's interesting because that's the one thing I was like, you know what? I'm not funny. I'm not funny,
dude.
So
dude, it's
that
funny
was like,
as hell.
Really? You think? Because I was like,
we're switching topics
back to the bebops, but I was like, this is the one thing that this is going to need. If this gets bought by like a studio or something, they're going to need to add a comedic element.
I don't know if my family heard me. Like, I was just like busting, you know, whatever you call it.
Wow, that's good to hear.
Yeah, I just and I think also part of it's like I was also laughing. I think possibly in times like subconsciously of the fact that you have an agent, and I'm like reading this like this Connie character. I wonder who this is based on. Like, is that based on your
No,
experience
it's
with
not.
your
No,
agent?
I love the agent that I have now, but that's great to hear. And then I had a meeting out in LA recently, and
Really?
they told me something about the script that was interesting, because I was like, yeah, I think if with anything we just need to add a comedic element to it.
Mhm.
And they're like, well, you just bring in that actor, you bring in that funny actor, and they add that to it themselves.
Yeah.
And that was interesting to me because I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
But that's good to know that you thought it was funny. Thank you.
Yeah, dude, it's so funny. But yeah, you had a meeting out there in LA. Nice.
Yeah.
This. Yeah, how's that? Yeah, so what is your? That's actually perfectly transitions into the other thing I wanted to talk about this script. Yeah, so you are basically what is your plan? Do you have do you want to talk about your strategy to get it made? Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I came up with the idea, I wrote the script, and then I wanted to use the kids book. So I self-published a kids book and I wanted to use this as a way to promote it in like differently than what everyone tries to do. And then from there, yeah, I'm hoping that a big studio gets on board, or someone who has a connection with a big studio or a big director gets on board and make it. I mean, that's the plan, is to get it made big.
Are you planning to are you gonna voice act like be a Bernie or something?
I don't have any plans on being in
what
this one.
What element?
But I want to be in Satori, the first one I made. I want to be the lead.
I have to read that. I read this one.
I need a lot of work on that still.
All right, I'll look at it.
Because there's, like I said, I didn't know what I was doing. There's no structure, and I have someone helping me with that one as well. But it would be great to get your feedback too.
Yeah, I'll take a look at it.
But it's just kind of all over the place. I cut out the beginning. It was like 121 pages.
Okay.
Which is pretty long.
Yeah.
And then I even just like format.
I
didn't
wish
even
I had
have
that problem where I just write really long shit. Like I have the problem where I write, unless it's the project I worked like a few years on, that just ballooned up. Right now, like Boys Be Boys, the script it was a short film. It's being expanded upon. It's being extended. The scenes are being more fleshed out, and we're also just adding all these different perspectives. We're really fleshing out the women's perspectives on it and making it more accurate to women's perspectives with that whole world of what we're trying to put together, and make it true to everything. But I still feel like it might. I don't know, because I write in Google Docs. I can't write in Final Draft.
That's what I write in, and apparently my formatting's all messed up.
Yeah.
So I just linked up with Wilmington.
Wait, Final Draft or Google Doc?
I use Google Docs.
Yeah, me too.
And I just linked up with a college professor from one of my acting classes, and she's like a professor in screenwriting.
Yeah.
And I sent her Satori, and she's like, "This is like, what did you use to format this with?" I was like, "Google Docs." And she's like,
listen to them. But you know what? Here's the thing.
So it went from like 100 pages actually to like 80. So whatever formatting I was using, it was making it much longer.
That's the thing. I think Norman told me, because he was dishing on me for writing the way I do. He told me that screenplay formatting is to get it more accurate to a page per minute.
Yep.
I think. And then just all the other things as well. But Final Draft's a good one. But what I do is I write in Google Docs, and I don't do any formatting at all. I just write. I just enter
just to get it
quote
down on paper.
Put the dialogue in quotes, and then blah 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 says, kind of almost like I'm writing a novel or whatever, but lazy. And then I just and very very minimal description, because that's just the way that's what it boils down to when I revise it so many times. And then so I do that, and then once it's finished, and maybe probably gotten feedback, and I'm ready to like copyright it, go through the copywriting process. Yeah, then I write it into transfer it into a script. But if I'm going to change things to make it match the script format, I'm going to change it into Google Docs as well, just so that I can go back to, if I'm going to rewrite something, I have to go back to Google Docs. I have to write in there. I can't write in screenplay format for some reason.
Yeah, it's just easier to use.
My brain.
That's what I use for the bebops too.
But I think that's really interesting. We both do something similar with that. But yeah.
But I got torn apart by Wilmington screenwriting professor.
Whatever.
but that's how you learn, man. You got to put yourself out there,
Yeah. But what is your involvement with this in terms of like the bigger production? What is your involvement? Would you like to have, just aside from writing it?
Yeah, I mean, see, this is all going to be new to me if and when it happens. When it happens, I think positively. Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, whatever they would offer me. I mean, I would like to be involved in it. I'd like to be involved as a writer or maybe like associate producer or something.
Writing it and then getting it sold, pretty much.
I want to get it made, and I want to be involved.
Yeah.
I want to be involved in it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, the goal is to get it made, and if I can't be involved,
yeah.
I mean, the end goal is to get it made, though. But I mean, it would be great to be involved and then to meet other people and get more connections, and then that's your in.
See, my method, like if I were to look at it, I was like, no, I didn't know how. I wasn't sure. There's the route of going that way, like where you go and find like a big production, go big, get like a big production to back it and whatnot. And I was normally, like right now, the route I go is for like a director who wants to really refine his craft of directing, and being an independent indie filmmaker and kind of have an independent path and not have to rely on feedback that I don't think is accurate or true, and so my route has been like figure it out yourself. Like,
so I'm taking that route too on a different project.
Yeah.
So I'm just throwing, just throwing things out there and seeing what sticks. So this is a different route. You want like Satori.
I think that's a good idea, because you want to like, I worked with that DP who kind of upped my game. If you do that, if you go that route where you get this into the big leagues, it's like,
and then I can make something that I want, or I can make a passion project. Myself, where I have more control.
Yeah.
So I'm taking.
You also are working with people who can up your game.
Yeah.
So that's,
and I have the connections now that I can do that. So I'm taking that route with this one. But then, like we talked about Satori, my first script, I'm using Resignation, which I'm making this February as like a proof of concept film, and we're going to use that to promote Satori and get funding for Satori, and hopefully then make that myself with my cast and crew.
If you get like really like successful and famous and you become like the next like DiCaprio or whatever, don't forget about the World War II film I want to make. Basically though.
But yeah, so then we'll have the connections to make that thing big.
Right, cool, man.
Yeah, man.
Here we go. We're gonna
gotta think outside the box. You gotta think different, because there's so many people out there that are trying to do the same thing.
The reason I don't think in terms of like, I just want to keep my project to myself and make it myself. But I do like the idea of working with people to like, improve myself. But I want to work with, if I'm going to work with other people, it's like, I want to work on projects that I work on them with, just with them, and not projects that I've spent like months, years, hundreds of hours trying to write and figure out, just to take their feedback heavy-handedly and screw up stuff that I was working so diligently on and trying to perfect the details of and do it my way. Because those are the films that I've come to love, that I've come to watch a lot of. And it's like, there's like one of my favorite filmmakers, Tarkovsky, like Andrei Tarkovsky, this Russian filmmaker. You watch one of his films, it's like, it takes you to another world, man. Like you feel like time is expanding, because he's doing things that I read his book. I've read his book once. I'm reading it again and I've watched all of his films more than once, because I don't understand what he's doing. But he's doing something with the actors and the performances and the shots and everything that just, it feels like time is expanding. And it's like your brain. The first time I saw one of his films, I felt like this guy is a pretentious piece of shit. I hated it. I hated his film, but I didn't realize I was starting off in the deep end. His film, The Mirror, which is his most autobiographical film, and it's his most out there film, because even when they're making it in the editing room, they almost didn't have it make sense and work for him. Which, if it doesn't work for him, it's not going to work for anybody.
Right.
Because but I've come to admire that. I've come to like those kind of films where it's like these people are doing what is so deeply intrinsically, right to them, and it's not right to the masses. It's not right to most people. Like, it's not commercial. It's more like a fine wine that you have to acquire the taste for in order to really be satisfied by it and to appreciate it. But once you do, you can never look back at other films again.
Yeah.
In the same way. You can't, like, you feel like it's like, this is great. I have appreciation for all these other films, but it's like once you watch, you really appreciate these kind of films, or like Ingmar Bergman, you're like, it's like what I mean, what is like something that's of high quality that once you are exposed to it, it's like you can't look at anything else the same. It just changes.
Right, the way you look at things and see things.
Can't think of what.
As a producer now, especially, I mean, my goal is to just have the best film made possible.
Mm-hmm.
So that doesn't mean it has to.
That's kind of
so it doesn't have to be necessarily my way. Even like in the book I'm reading now with Jocko Willink, you got to put your ego aside, because everyone wants the same goal. You want that best film, and I purposely surround myself with people that think differently, because I want a different perspective.
Yeah.
So you get those perspectives, and then together you make the best film. And sometimes you have to put that ego aside and say, hey, my idea I thought was the best way, but I hear his idea and that actually works better. Or even in like a fight scene, you think that you have the best idea, and then, you have the sound guy say, oh, hey, it might work better this way. And then you take that and use that. You don't have to just do something a certain way because it was, your idea, or, you just have to put your ego aside sometimes to get the best product, because everyone wants just the best film.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm the way I talk about these filmmakers, I talk in a way where I'm like I'm making it sound like I probably am leaning on the pretentious side, but no, I know what you mean. And that's actually how I am too. It's in a way, it's like, I do still get my friends to read the script and give me their feedback. Now I've also learned it's like, you also want to know,
but then at the same time, you do have to stick to your vision, because you don't want to be like, okay, well, that doesn't work with my vision. That doesn't work with the film that I'm imagining. So I hear you, but it's not the way that we want to go.
And like one way so back when I was struggling to, finish a script for for a while and actually get back to filmmaking, I really had to push my ego aside in terms of, and my ego was different back then. I had, different views then. And I had to honestly just, kind of, expose my, not an expose. I kind of had to just be open to what my friends and people around me that I trusted said, or I thought I trusted, to tell me the truth, because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Like, somebody help me, give me the feedback that I can improve this, that I can get, past this hurdle of getting stuck in quicksand. And I started getting feedback, and then I would lean too far into, taking too much feedback from people, and I would learn that when you can know when you're getting the wrong feedback, when you get feedback upon feedback, where you get where you tell somebody else's feedback to somebody else, and that person's feedback to somebody else, and then you figure out what they have to say about them.
Well, in the end, you got to follow your heart.
Yeah, true. That too.
But so some feedback you take, and others you don't.
Yeah, and one of the things was,
but it's important to be open to feedback and critiques.
Yeah. And but this person who didn't say anything about my work, I thought they just didn't have opinion. When in fact it was, they knew that I was following something with my heart, and I was like, I knew what it was, and they sensed that, and they saw it, and they liked that I was doing. And then when I started doing something else to be fitting in with somebody else's vision, they helped me kind of come back to what it is I was trying to do that was kind of closer to what I was trying to aim for myself. And that helped me understand myself better as an artist. And I still, that's why I've surrounded myself with people who I trust and who have given me good feedback that leads me closer to what, is true to me.
Right.
But yeah, you do have to sometimes say, hey, enough. Let's do it this way.
No, yeah, I agree. You can't.
But yeah,
Just
the
be a
ego is
pushover.
a thing you gotta tackle with. I still struggle with it. Whenever
As a leader, or that's a big thing. You have to put that ego aside and just do what's best for the team and do what's best for that end goal. I mean, because everyone wants that same goal, and you just have to focus on that.
And this is where you like your experience with being a Delaware State Trooper, and you're going into SWAT. We haven't talked about that.
Yeah,
dude, you're going into SWAT, man.
Yes, I went.
You're gonna meet Samuel L. Jackson. I'm just
So it's funny. My two brothers are Delaware State Troopers as well, and they're both on SWAT.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been talking to my ear the last couple of years to get into SWAT because I was on the dive team and the helicopter air rescue team, and you can't do both. So now I'm transitioning and hopefully into SWAT. I find out this week if I get the team or not. But I went through a 2-week intensive course, SWAT school. And it was no joke. It was no joke. Never been that sore in my life. But it was fun. I learned a lot.
You're like
awesome training.
This dude's jumping out of helicopters. He's going into SWAT. He's writing about bees, man.
I wear many hats.
Hire this guy. Dude, you're like, that's why, like, when I first started talking about I was like, dude, this guy, there's something different about this guy. I want to work with him. I want to become friends with him, and I'm fortunate that I get to call you a friend and work
Appreciate
with you.
That.
But yeah, man.
Yeah, man. And can we talk about resignation?
Yeah, let's talk about that if you want. Or on here or afterward. What is it?
Or we can talk afterwards.
Yeah. Or do you want to talk about it on the podcast? We can.
Sure. I mean,
whatever you want to do. I wasn't sure if that's what you.
What am I allowed to say that you're on board?
Oh yeah. No, they don't watch my podcast.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
Don't worry.
So yeah, man, I do appreciate that you're on board, and like I said, we got a lot of great people on board in our cast and crew, and things are just falling into place. So it's exciting, and like I said, I'm going to use resignation to hopefully get some kind of financial backing or studio backing so we can make Satori.
Satori, okay.
Yeah,
and I'll read.
But and that's still a work in progress. So hopefully that'll be finished by the time that happens.
That reminds me. So my process, and I actually kind of wrote this out because I wasn't sure what route you were planning to go with that animation. Because if you were planning to go the route of doing it yourself, and what I mean by doing it yourself is like, I enjoy, trying to figure out how to replicate big studio systems, all that machinery from the from what I can learn on the outside and replicate it for myself in my own way. But I should probably get as close as possible to it so that I can learn from inside. And doing that, you'd have to get involved in with like a film or something, and I should probably do that more. And everybody's like, you should go to California, Tom. Like, if you're a filmmaker, you should go to California. Everybody's leaving California now.
I know. Yeah.
Gosh, what was it like there? What was it like? Was it like really closed down there?
Yeah, I mean,
your like restaurants are really.
It wasn't much different than what it is out here, to be honest with you. I mean, everything was supposed to be takeout or delivery, but they had outside seating. They just acted like it wasn't associated with the restaurant.
Yeah, I just keep hearing about it.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. I mean, and it's still beautiful. It's still California. It was 70 degrees out.
Oh.
I tried surfing for the first time.
How did I go?
By the way, don't ever try to learn how to surf in Huntington Beach.
Oh,
because the waves are huge and it's rough. And I was like, you know what? I'm on the dive team. I can do this. It's not related at all to surfing. So it was brutal. I tried 2 days in a row and I didn't even get close to standing up on the board.
Oh, jeez.
But then we did some hiking.
Why Huntington Beach is it like that? It's like
it's just waves. I mean, those are big waves. That's where people who know how to surf go.
Yeah.
So I was with a guy who was really good at surfing. Like it's like his passion. He has surfboards out in California actually for that reason in like a storage unit, and he surfs all the time, and that's where he wanted to go to surf. And he took me along.
Oh geez.
And I mean, we're talking huge waves, you know, like 10, 12-foot waves.
Get gutted.
They're big waves. Yeah.
There's a video on YouTube. It's like, you just get gutted, man. You just,
oh yeah. Yeah. I got gutted, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know what it means anymore. Wait, so like in terms of like an animation, I thought about like how would you go about it where you're building from the ground up. And I was like, I think it's figure out the details, the ins and outs, find out the way you want to make it, you know, do it yourself safe, or you know, go the big budget route where you're finding a big studio that is established, that has the track record.
Yeah, see, I wouldn't even know where to begin to make that on my own.
Well,
so
my thought would be like,
I just figured it had to be made.
Yeah. Well, I think you could do this with a very, very minimal budget, almost.
Because if you ever look, animation budgets are like $100 million.
Well, here's the catch. So here's the thing.
So if you could educate me,
I think.
I mean, if I could, I'm definitely open to seeing what another route would look like.
It's gonna end up looking like Rusty Spade. But no, in all honesty, no. I think like if I were to go about making animation, I haven't really written anything where I was like, I want to make this an animation yet. Except for Lego People Storm Area 51. Go check it out. But no, it's actually Clap Them Aliens. Now I changed it. That's what it was originally going to be. You find people to help create it, the 3D or 2D designers, depending on how you're doing it. The modelers, animators. If you're doing a 3D design, I think Blender is like free. Blender.org. Like it's a free 3D program that I've used. I've actually been designing a product, a 3D product. Actually, I was going to ask you if you wanted to like look at it, but then I'd have to have you sign a non-disclosure agreement after this. But it's up to you. We'll get into that. But also, it's like, yeah, you find the people with the talent and the passion in terms of like 3D designers and animators and modelers. I know a bit about most of it, and I could help. And so I know enough to know like who to look for, and I think they would know way more than I do. So it would like find those people through like film.org or whatever resource you can find.
So you'd have to find like animators.
Yeah, but assemble a team of people who are like, hey, look, we're doing this. We're going to try to do something that's really as cool as like what big companies do, but we're going to do it.
So essentially just start
together.
like a
just
Pixar.
Yeah, basically.
Starting a Pixar.
Basically, yeah. And
well, hey, if you
don't trust me yet, because it might.
We'll talk after.
I don't want it to end up looking like crap, but because I wouldn't.
But even if we made something really short.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we could do that. Yeah, we could do that. We could make
just to see, or even like to use that to pitch.
You're right.
Like to promote.
Fucking right.
Like a trailer, like something.
Yeah.
Short.
That might work. I think before we do that, even before that, we figure out the ins and outs. We go back to the phase one or the beginning of phase one. I don't know. I call it phase. Fuck that. You basically, we would actually probably like really try to improve the script as much as possible until we can say, all right, we're good. Let's figure out what we're going to make, or we know what we're going to make. Once we know what we're going to make writing wise, and then find the right people, find a good team, and then that team is probably going to change our minds about the entire process about making it.
All right.
Like all this is probably going to get thrown out the window when we find the right person, kind of like that DP I worked with, who ups your level, like who's worked on these professional things, and it's like, let's do it this way. Or ask them the question. I'm sorry, I'm spitting. Ask them the question that they should be asking themselves. How could we do this with nothing? Really, like when you like ask yourself, you know, that thing that you think you take 10 years to do, like 10 years to master. When you ask yourself the impossible question, how do you accomplish this thing not in 10 years, but in 6 months? There's often where you can find these crazy solutions to things when you ask these impossible questions. Kind of, and I found this from like listening to Tim Ferriss and his podcast years ago, and Peter Diamandis, the X Prize Foundation. When you give people months instead of years to figure something out, and you give them a prize, like the I don't think we'd have a prize, or maybe we'd have to, but you know, like you figure out how to incentivize the impossible, and then you find that people do the impossible, right? And you incentivize it. But yeah, so there's a way to accomplish the impossible things of accomplishing a great film that is produced for practically nothing. That's my belief. and I'm still trying to prove it. I think I'm getting
well,
close.
prove it to me. We'll
do
go
it.
there. We'll try at least. I mean, we can still always,
super professional. Boys Be Boys be super professional. We could try something small with this. I think that'd be a better idea than the whole thing. Design the element. It's once you get the people involved, the voice actors, you find some great actors. I know a bunch of people who I just think they're top of mind for different characters for my films, and we know a bunch of actors. We could and going backstage, we find more. And I love this part of the process where you're trying to find people, whether it's animators or whatever, or actors, because that's how I met you. That's how I met all these people who have actually changed me over the years. Like when I was first starting out, I didn't know what film.org was. I didn't even know you could actually go on a website and find people that were interested in the same stuff. I didn't know where to go. And and for years I was telling all these people I knew, like, oh, I worked on this as an extra and a PA on this this Civil War film. Never got finished. I don't know what happened to that. But like, it was the coolest thing forever for me for years. But then I didn't know how to get back into it. I didn't know where to go. I heard that some people found things on Craigslist, but I didn't know how to use. I didn't never use Craigslist. It seems kind of sketchy.
It's amazing the resources out there now.
Yeah. Go to film.org if you're in Philly. Backstage, all
Backstage,
these
there's casting networks, Actors Access,
Premium. It was no Production Hub, something like that. I think that's one. I'm not sure. I've never used it, but once you figure out the people, and as you're figuring that out, and you continue to figure out and bring more people in. Because you want to bring that talent pool in, people you can trust,
right?
And count on, and then start working with these talented people to design the elements, design the characters, the set pieces, and tell like George Lucas when he did Star Wars, and did the prequels too. Like he would have a bunch of different artists get working on the same problem. What does General Grievous look like? And a bunch of people just started doing things. He almost ended up being a child in a floating chair. General Grievous, one of my favorite characters because he's so cool looking. I ended up being a child in a chair. But then there's one guy.
So how did he get started? Well, did he start with Star Wars, or did he have?
No, I can go into that. I know an answer to that. But
how did he get the financial backing? Did he have a studio back Star Wars?
He was one of the directors who lucked out because they were in the right place at the right time. Back when all the studio heads were dying, literally dying, falling over dead, nobody knew how to make movies. And they did this thing that they don't do anymore, where all these studio executives coming in were new blood and they didn't know how to make movies. So they were just like, all right, you're talented directors, go make whatever you want. That never happens now.
So he started.
He was one of those directors, like Martin Scorsese.
Did he start with
Steven Spielberg was one of those directors.
American Graffiti?
Yes, he did that. I haven't watched that. I'm going to watch it.
I haven't either. But so that's how they started? Studios just came to them and said, hey.
The Godfather. That was one of those films where, it was hell for, what is it? What's his name? Coppola. Because he just didn't like working on it, but they were like, yeah. But he got to make the film he wanted to a degree. Like he had to, stiff arm them, like the mob,
Yeah.
But it's like
that's interesting.
All these directors got into Hollywood and got big because they were in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
They were all friends. They were all shitting on each other. Like that looked like crap, dude. Somebody watched Star Wars. I think it was it Cronenberg or whatever, or somebody. They watched Star Wars with like Steven Spielberg and all these people. They were friends with George Lucas at the time and still are, and they were like, that was the worst film ever, George. What was that? I didn't understand any of it. And he's like, here's a solution. And George was like, that's right, it's terrible. And then he's like, here's a solution. Have big scrolling letters in the beginning to tell us what the fuck is going on. And that's how the scrolling letters in Star Wars happened.
So he had a product before, he had a film before Star Wars.
He was working on Star Wars. Well, no, back when he was working on Star Wars, but then he worked on other films. There's a film called, it's basically, it's called, what is it called? Why is it resetting? Anyway, it's called I can't THX something 1117 or 1190 11 something. 1197, something like that. But it's like it was this sci-fi film before Star Wars, and it had all the elements of Star Wars, like like all George Lucas's tropes that he put in the movies. Like it just had his personality, has his cutting style, and also, I mean, his fade, like the fade, the wipe.
Yeah,
that's from Kurosawa films, man. And Kurosawa was a master of that. George Lucas kind of just ripped it off a little bit, but like it's like I mean, but they were all influenced by great filmmakers before them, and these are the filmmakers that I kind of watch a lot, that I learn from now, that inspired them, his generation. But yeah, they basically I hope I'm answering your question, but it's like, yeah, they started out making these other films, and
but he had major funding for Star Wars.
Yeah, but actually no. Yes, but no. It was.
Did he continue to own the rights?
Well,
how did that happen? Because it doesn't even happen anymore.
The first movie, it's funny. He says, well, it was actually really relatively easy to make Star Wars. Half of it took place in a desert. Half of it took place on a soundstage with walls. The Death Star.
Wow,
dude. Sorry, I keep spitting, dude. It's like easy to make Star Wars? Are you kidding me? But no, he's like, oh, it's easy. Just half of it was in the desert and half of it was on a starship, and you make the starship in these sound stages, And it's like,
and what they did on Star Wars was like revolutionary, right? Yeah. Like some of those,
the models and you have
the special effects.
Cameras, and they were doing like layering things, like compositing that was new at the time, and they were doing it to a degree that was better than it honestly looks like Star Wars then looks better than what they do now, like with CGI.
Yeah,
but because they had all these practical models, and they used a lot of practical stuff.
Yeah.
And that gets lost, and I think and that's why like I see all these filmmakers today who are doing all these like CGI heavy stuff, like even filmmakers on YouTube, like Corridor Digital. It's like, it's cool and all, but it's like, whatever happened to cutting away from something because it was too expensive to make or it was impossible to make, and you let the imagination create it for you as the filmmaker, like Jaws, the shark. You don't see the shark for half the movie. That's what made that movie successful. Yeah. And the reason that happened was there's a book about the filmmaking, like making that film and documentary. It's like, the shark didn't work. Bruce the shark, which was named after Steven Spielberg's lawyer or attorney at the time of the story. It's like, it didn't work. They had to.
So they had to keep it hidden the whole time, but that built the suspense.
That made that movie, like, go to a whole nother level. Plus, was it the composer? Well, I'm blanking on his name. I'll think of it later. Like that's what, and that that soundtrack so iconic. It's like, dude, it's that, and the funny story was the first screening, Steven Spielberg saw somebody get out of the theater, throw up in the back of it in the trash can, and then go back in. Like he wouldn't want to go in and watch. Like he would wait outside for people to come out, and somebody threw up and then went back in. That's how, and he's like, that's how he knew. That's how he knew. He was like, it's a hit.
Wow.
Like if you come out and throw up and go back in, that's how you know it's a hit.
Yeah.
But no. So yeah, George Lucas. Yeah, they all were making films at the time, and George Lucas made a lot of indie films. He made a lot of, and he was known for that. But Star Wars, like the script originally was atrocious. The actor who plays Obi-Wan Kenobi, I'm blanking on his name. I usually know it, but it's just, we're 2 hours into the podcast. But he's like, he was like the most prestigious actor in that. He had been on the bridge on the River Kwai, and it's like now to this day, like ever since, like he resented the fact that he'd been in Oscar-winning films, but Dr. Zhivago, I think, but it's like everybody remembered him from that film.
Yeah.
Not Lawrence. But yeah. But yeah, they kind of were in that place where they could make whatever they wanted and have have this financial backing. But it's like, I think
the right place at the right time.
You have to, as a filmmaker, to grow, it's important to make it's important to make your films a certain way. You have to have a certain level of control, because if you don't have that control and you're being dictated by the system, and you don't have that freedom to like control what you're making, you start making film. I fear that you start making films that aren't yours, and then you can't make films that will help you grow into the better filmmaker you want to be. You can't think strategically as a filmmaker and make like Feeding the Fire was a strategic step for me. A lot of my films that I do now, it's like, unconsciously I realized they're a strategic step to improve me in some capacity, or many capacities. And it's like Rusty Spade, shooting it in one take, that improved me.
Right.
Like, in a strategic way. Like, it improved the next films after that, in a way. And sometimes it's not obvious, but it's like you have to go that route and fail and do it the way you want, and then you can, and when you can follow your gut knows what you want to make, because it knows what it's going to teach you when you do that.
Right.
And yeah, I think that's why I like the do-it-yourself route. But yeah, like, we design the elements, the characters, and this is where, like, with George Lucas with Star Wars, this is something you don't need funding to do. You just need a bunch of passionate artists and get them excited about it, and say, here, this is what this character is. Here are a bunch of details about it. Give them a page, a one-pager, that defines this character, what this location is, and then let them run free. Bunch of different people run free in every different direction that their intuition makes them go. And then when you compare the works and you get together, it's like, let's look at what you made. What's what we made. I like this element, or I like this entire thing you did. And then you find from that like, that's how you find the look of the film. It's from, creative collaboration with a bunch of people. And then once you have all these elements, once you go through you have a breakdown of all the things you need, all the characters you need to design, all the elements, and maybe you don't even design some things in 3D for this. You actually shoot it practical and use that as the background, like outside. You could shoot like on like a camera like this. You get like we figure out what the animation is. We storyboard it so we know what the background needs to be, what movement it needs. Like if we use a gimbal to like have the camera move like as they're like maybe the bees flying. Like I forget if there was a part, but like you know what the background is. That's what I learned from the Lego animation. You know what the background is. You know what the movement is from that storyboarding. When you do storyboarding, then you can figure out how you can do practical stuff with a camera like this and shoot things, and then try to make everything else, all the animated elements in 3D, photorealistic to match that.
Right.
And that can become like an inspiration to up your level, up your game of the animation to make it match that. Now, you design all these character elements, all these things, and that's where the real juice comes in of making it look amazing, make it look really inspiring. And also the storyboarding element. We storyboarded the entire film. I think if it was like, if I say you and I co-directed it, you're co-director, I'm co-director, you're gonna storyboard the entire film, and I'm gonna storyboard the entire film separately, and then we come back and we compare our storyboards for every single shot, and then we're gonna both do it differently. We're gonna have different visions. I mean, if it's your film, I would side with whatever you want to do. But you might like what I did.
But yeah, and that's where I was saying, the best idea wins. It's not who comes up with the idea.
Yeah. And then we do the deep prep work of the actors, like I was saying, the 90 hours of like an hour per page, where you're going from, raw feelings and ideas and inspirations about what what's going on in this scene, throughout the entire film, this character, what's this, and then you translate that to actionable, directions. Mm-hmm. And that is what we would use as like just visceral tools when we're directing the actors for voice acting, like using mics like this in a sound booth or some quiet location. And we don't even need that much of expensive equipment. We could use this probably, and it's just the right location, and get 90% of the way there compared to or 95% of the way there with this. It sounds great. Yeah. Like this is high end, man. It can, when you compare them, most people aren't going to tell the difference compared to like thousands of dollars worth of mics versus hundreds of dollars worth of mics like this. Like these are good for that, but
especially starting small with just even like a scene or something.
These are good mics.
Yeah, they look legit.
But it's and they sound pretty good. sound like ASMR.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm spitting again. But yeah, so storyboard, then deep prep work with the actors, and then go to work putting together the sound design. This is what I learned with the animation I did. What really worked well with that, with animation. What I realized when I was trying to figure out how do I make this work? How do I make the timing work, the humor? And I found the way is like, don't start animating until you finish the sound design. Finish the sound design to like the 99.99% finished degree. And what you have then is, that works. Once you're laughing because of the sound design, if you can just listen to the sound design and picture the entire thing with the storyboards and you're laughing,
yeah,
you got it. You're 90% of the way there, or 50% of the way there. Then you just have to go take it home with the visuals. And once you have the sound design, and then you can actually layer the storyboards you drew in video, and you can actually watch the entire movie with your team and say, this is the storyboards with all your drawings that we like for these different elements we used for inspiration, and then we did the sound design. We can all watch it and feel it coming alive before our very eyes before we even begin animating it and putting all these 3D modeling, putting all these things together. And then those people who are good at that, who we get passionate about, by showing them this, getting them realizing, oh my God, we're almost there. We have it. It's practically there. It's just we have to take it from a drawing.
So the voice actors do everything before the animators?
I would say yes. Personally,
I don't know.
I would say it's a better route just from experience, because
is that how they normally do it?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. They might not, and that might actually be the worst thing to do. Because at some point they
would have to, with the the mouth.
Well, yeah, you do need to animate to the voice performances, and that's why I think it not only audio recording the voice actors. You could film them so that the animators can use it as a reference, and the animators will also use themselves in a mirror as a reference. Animators will look in a mirror and try saying the lines and record themselves saying the lines or mouthing the lines, but it helps them to have the actual performances from the actors. And if we direct them with all the prep work we did with the acting prep work, it's like we can get those performances to feel real, even if it's on a sound stage with mics like this, even if they're in a sound booth, we can get them to that place and get them performing. And then we start with deep prep work, go through this, get the sound design right, and then put the storyboard to the sound, and then we have a movie pretty much just drawn. And then once then while that's there, it's like then we go the route of having all the people, our 3D modelers, model the things to match the vision. And then those are our assets, our models. They texture them, all those different things. I haven't done texturing in 3D in Blender 3D, but I know I can learn that myself. But it's all this is extensive. Like, you need a team of people that know what they're doing, and are motivated. But if you make this, you could, and you get all these people on board, you can probably.
So it's possible.
Yeah, you could probably do something, and then
even if you just start small or make like a trailer.
Yeah, exactly. Like just make something
like a
short
promo video
of it or something. Yeah,
something that we could use to make it bigger.
And then in terms of like Pixar, they have like probably hundreds or dozens or hundreds. I think hundreds of like high-end computers processing data for rendering out the final film, with all the lighting simulation, all the stuff they do. Now, it's possible we could like do the artwork, the design it in a way where it's not going to be that technically complex to render it as like a Pixar film would be, or like a big, budget film. You don't have to. They just do that because we got fuck you money and we're gonna do it.
Yeah.
It's like, you got to think about that.
They have $100 million budget.
Sometimes, you got to ask yourself, is it, sometimes like how often do films, like your big production companies, do things just because they have the money to do it? I bet it happens more often than people think. I mean, there's this role that somebody on film.art, I forget who it was, but it was like they're asking for like a COVID compliance officer. I was like, what is that? And I looked into it and I was like, okay, it kind of makes sense. But I'm like, for like small budget,
they do have them.
Yeah. All right, so it makes sense for like big budgets, at least for me. But like
I did a JP Morgan and Chase training video, and they had they had one on
Did
set.
they have like instant tests, whatever? Yeah.
No,
Or-
we had to test. I think the day or two before, and then bring
Okay.
that result
Yeah, it's like
with
a few
us.
times a week, I think.
But they're just basically on set to make sure everyone's following the guidelines, following the rules.
When I first saw that, I was like, all right, everybody who's afraid of dying or giving this disease to somebody they know and love, it's like they're gonna know the rules for the most part, especially people who are in filmmaking. I think it's like they're most people are gonna be like, all right, wear a mask and social distance, and to me that's what you do. But then I heard there's like this zoning system, like zone A, zone B, something where you, like nobody goes into zone A unless it's the talent, and you have to stay away from them.
Oh yeah, I
Something
didn't
like
experience that yet.
And I thought that was interesting, and it did keep, and plus testing every day or very often.
Yeah, they probably do that on big productions.
Yeah, kept the infections down.
Yeah.
So I guess I figured that out, but it's like a lot of times it's like there has got to be things that they do that a small budget person who doesn't have the same resources can't do and don't need to.
Right. No, you probably wouldn't need some of those things. I mean,
and this comes full circle to what that guy said. Take people to where they want to go, not necessarily where you can go. What's easy. They want to go somewhere that's hard to go, and I mean, and with animation you can do that much easier than like live action or independent filmmaking. But it's like that's one of those philosophies. It's like, yeah, I mean, you have to think outside the box, but it's, I mean, it kind of just gets you down this road of caring about what isn't as important. What is important is story and the performances. If you can have a really compelling story with really compelling characters, writing and dialogue, and really compelling performances, people will forgive you for not having the Titanic in your film, for not being on Mount, like being on the in front of a volcano, shooting something live for real in front of a volcano. It's like, but then again, they will appreciate that. People will appreciate that. I get it, but it's not. For me, what matters most is the performances and or the story and the performances and I think I'll start to care more about bringing people to places where they haven't been. I think I should take that advice. But yeah, like back to what I was saying, render farms. There's actually services I think that you can go, pay for, where they have hundreds, thousands of computers, and you just are like, here's the file, do this, I need this exported, and they'll do that processing power of like the level of Pixar. Sorry,
they'll make it like an animation.
I mean,
for you?
well, no, you have to like have
provide them with
everything set up or whatever. I think
storyboard.
That's
interesting.
Yeah,
well, that's something.
You're outsourcing processing power. Basically, you have to do all the animating and get and get it ready so that they'll process it for you.
Okay.
But it's like, yeah, I mean that's. But then again, the computer I got where right now it's like I wonder what I haven't pushed it to the limit with animation. I could try something. I'll talk to you about that afterwards. But animate things to make sure they work with the sound design and altering things, and keep going until the film's finished. Keep altering things, making sure that it's fine tuned. Like a film, like anything, like a writing process, you're reworking it. But then that's where you get to the part where I'll admit this is where I'm weak, is when you finished a good film. If when I finish Boys Be Boys, or this is World War II film I'm working on.
That's the name.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. What do you do then? Probably shouldn't have said the title, but
This is the first I'm hearing of it.
I'll probably cut it out. I'll bleep it because I don't want it being stolen. Because it's a good title, because there's a reason for it. But it's once you get, so remember, Tom, mental note, block that out. But I'm probably being too paranoid. But anyway, once you get to the point where, say, you've done all these things, you've made a film that is on par in technically speaking, on par in the ways it counts, or better than what big budget film companies do. If you can pull that off, then what? And I'm learning the hard way. You then have to get eyeballs. How the fuck do you do that? Like, I'm learning that, like when I did Rusty Spade, that was like, I hadn't done anything in a while or uploaded anything to YouTube. I'd done things back in high school, but I thought, this is such a cool project. These are cool projects. You know, they're just going to find, the views are just going to come. But they don't.
Yeah.
I mean,
so you have to figure out how to get it out there.
I mean, people have told me that like I make some things that are real, like, good enough that it's like it should be getting more views than it does. Then things that, you know, aren't as good, you know, you'll say, not just me, but like that's like things that aren't as good like get more views. But that's just because of marketing. That's because these people do it consistently.
Yeah.
I realize
they have a large fan base already.
Yeah.
Or
it's like, I think it's consistency.
Following.
That seems to be a thing, but I've tried that with sometimes, but I can't do it at the level I do it.
Yeah, the quality's not there if you're
doing it constantly.
Yeah.
And you see it, like I can spot it like everywhere when I look at like YouTubers who, even if they're doing like sketch comedy, they like, you can tell that they're really trying to push something that's not funny. And like recently, like I've been waiting and I've been trying to come up with an idea for a sketch for months. I came up with one recently. The reason I came up with it is because I gave up trying to think of sketch ideas. Like, it's weird. At one point, I was trying so desperately hard to come up with a sketch idea, and that's how I came up with one. And then, for whatever reason, after that, I had to give up on coming up with sketch ideas.
Yeah.
Like, I tried sitting down and writing them, but, you know, if you're to come up with a good idea that turns into a good script, I learned you don't want to, it doesn't come from sitting down and sitting at the page and writing. It comes, for me, I think it comes from, or some people it does, but, and actually Feeding the Fire kind of did. But I think I've come up with better ideas from not doing that. It comes from being away from the writing process. It comes from going through your daily life, driving down the road.
Yeah, because you have to get those ideas.
Yeah, taking a nap, working out.
Yeah, if you're just isolated, not doing anything, you're not going to get ideas.
Yeah, so many great ideas come to me when I'm working out or napping or meditating. And it's like, that's where the juice comes from. And it's like including ideas that I work into story ideas I'm already working on. Like, that's how I solve problems. I don't solve it in the writing process. Well, a lot of them I do. A lot of the problems I have to solve I do. Like, how do I write this? How do I word it? How do I get it to sound right when I speak it? Like, there's some tactical problems you have to do, but the bigger, like, overarching, like, problems where you have a bird's eye view, those you have to be away from the writing process. You have to get away from that kind of high frequency, you know, very jittery kind of what's the word? I forget what the word is, but you know, you're just in a kind of a very focused mindset. You need to diffuse your mindset. You need to diffuse. You need to be backing away. You need to be working on more than one project so that you're creating enough difference in perspectives. There's this chess. I told this to Norman. It's like there's this chess prodigy who the film Searching for Bobby Fischer is based on. If you ever heard of it, it's based on Josh Waitzkin's, and his family would take him on voyages when his competitors were playing chess and learning moves and you know, learning how to, you know, play better, and he wouldn't play chess at all. He would be on, like, you know, out in the waves, and then when he'd come back, he'd have these like artistic these movements, these moves and these things that are on the level of art.
So he'd go out and get the life experiences.
Yes. And that's why I think that's what stuck out to me about you. The fact that you're like a Delaware State Trooper. I think that's part of why you wrote a good script. That's why I'm not jealous. Okay. No.
I don't know.
No, it's like, I think that plays into it, man.
Yeah.
When you have
a different perspective.
Yeah, when you have that real life thing where you're actually, when you're Delaware State Trooper, you know, you're focused on, you know, real life things. You're focused on real, like you're focused in some situations where it's like sometimes, you know, you're going into dangerous situations, or could be dangerous, that you don't know. You just don't know. And it's like, I wish more people would appreciate that, you know, in this day and age. I'm trying not to get political. But oh god. No, Tom. No. But no, it's like no,
but I get what you're saying. Just getting those different perspectives, getting different life experiences helps you write. It helps you come up with those ideas.
Because all I'm focused on a daily basis is how to make films, and that's not interesting. And that's why I have a rule. It's like, don't make movies about making movies, because then you're just a snake eating its own tail and you're boring as fuck. Like, how many movies have you seen where it's like it's about making movies, or a screenwriter wrote about writing a writing process? Wally B. You know, it's like, all right, yeah, just that's boring as hell for most people, but it's fun for writers. But if you're not a writer, that can be interesting to other people. But it's like, I make that rule for myself, and I also told myself no sequels, which is another thing. It's like, you have to set these rules for yourself, I think, or I try to, because I feel like it's like you don't want to get into this trap of doing something that for the wrong reasons,
right?
And I think writing a movie about making movies is because you're not expanding your outlook. You're not, the World War II film, I'm surprised. Like, I was surprised as that was coming together in the beginning, that those ideas were kind of. Do
you have a script for that?
I'm working on it.
It's going to be a feature? Probably.
I have no. I'll find out when it's done. Like my writing process, I don't know how long it is until it's done, but I actually just started reworking from the beginning again, just to polish it, or not polish it, but like I found out that I was writing. I was doing my writing process at the wrong time of the day. I found that doing it after my evening meditation made it much richer and much more thought out. And
really,
I
have to write first thing in the morning.
Well,
that's when my mind's the sharpest.
Yeah, no, that's true. Like, I think that's.
And sometimes I come up with ideas like at night, or even in the middle of the night. I'll wake up and have this crazy idea, and I'll go out and write it down, and then I'll go back to bed. But like, I get the best work done. Like,
do it that way. Do it if it works
after I do my morning routines, and I get in the zone.
Yeah, no, I found that like just it has to do with my meditation. It was my morning meditation. I have morning meditation, evening meditation. My morning meditation is mantra work. It's deep, it's focused. But my evening meditation, I just lie there and think about things. And I think because I'm diffused, I'm thinking about whatever I want. For some reason, my brain is being structured. It's better at structuring things, and
so that's where you get the creative ideas.
I think.
But do you actually write after that, or do you just write down the idea?
I take a nap. Well, I'll think of ideas while I'm meditating or napping. Even when I'm napping, I'll think about the problems that I'm having, and I'll work through them, and then I'll actually have better ideas from napping. And
I get a lot of good ideas meditating, or if I have like a issue that I need to work out, I think about it when I'm meditating, and I usually figure out the solution.
Yeah, you but just the fact of doing this diffused, relaxed evening meditation before I go into writing mode, I found it was harder to get the discipline to go through the writing, because when you meditate in a relaxed state, I don't know what that is. When you meditate in a relaxed state, you're less disciplined, and it's harder to get through. It's like harder to will yourself through. But what I found was the quality was way better. Like, the reason it was harder to get through it was just the quality, the raw quality, the thought process was much more coherent and deeper. It came from a deeper place. And so I think that's why that works. And so I've been reworking from the beginning. I'd rather people, I'd rather people view it. I'd rather people view it from like when it's kind of close to being finished. And I'll get it to you when it's close to that. Okay. Another thing is, I think it's my niece. She's pulling something around. But I think what was I gonna say? Why am I asking?
We were talking about meditating.
I think something I was watching. When it comes to screenwriters talking about their screenplays, I was surprised to like. I always like copyright my works before I show them to people, unless it's people like I think, they're definitely not going to screw me. They're not going to take this with it. Or, I mean, like for I kind of want to keep it under wraps until I know what it is. And I'll know what it is when it's finished. It's a weird like Boys Be Boys, like I had finished an early draft. People have an idea of that. I want it to kind of find its way. But I'll probably get some people's feedback on it. But I kind of want to. What was I going with this? This is why I stop usually after. It's been 2.5 hours. Oh shit.
Yeah.
But
We're gonna have to wrap this up soon.
We'll wrap this up. But yeah, so it's. Yeah, I'm losing my thought.
I'm starting to like zone out too.
Yeah.
Like, you know. And I have to use the bathroom again.
Yeah, let me try to think of it real quick. If I can think of it in 10 seconds. It's not happening.
Read the nutshell technique. It's good.
Yeah, I will. But yeah, I'm honestly just. I think we should just. You want to call it?
Yeah.
Close here.
Yeah. We'll call it a wrap.
Oh, and the other thing, real quick, the marketing at festivals. Like the plan. This is what I want to finish on this. The plan for like Boys Be Boys and like Purple Hearts is, marketing plan is like go to, festivals, take it to festivals, but a finished product. Like I want the film to be finished, so that I can say that's the film. That's the film I set out to make, and I made it. And if you like it and you want to, like, if some big studio approaches it, you know, that I'd rather they come to me when it's finished, not when I don't know what it is. Kind of like the World War II film,
right?
Like I'm still trying to figure it out. Because I've been in that place where I met somebody who was way ahead of me, and I think I'm vulnerable in that sense that I overtrust people. You know, I overtrust their ideas over mine in situations like that, and I'm like, I let them take the idea and make it their own, and then I find out when it's too late. And luckily I just backed out before it was made, because I feel like if that film Jody was made, it would have done something to me that it would have been permanent and would have been irreversible, and I'm not sure what. And it scares me to think about what it would be. It would be the thing that you see happens to filmmakers where you ask, what happened to them? Did they like sell out, or they just started making these cash grab movies and they stopped caring about quality? I feel like that's what would have happened to me. And I mean, not necessarily cash grab, but films that just aren't like they don't feel right. Like there's something that's inherently broken about it. And
well, it's not the worst thing in the world to have that happen. Like I said, learn from your failures, learn from your setbacks, learn from your mistakes, and you can't be afraid to have that. You can't be afraid to have that happen.
Yeah.
Because then you won't go out there. You won't put yourself out there.
Yeah, you won't meet.
You have to put yourself out there.
Yeah, I guess
luck is when opportunity meets preparation.
Yeah.
You have to be out there.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess. I mean, I do try to open myself up to that. But it's like at the same time, I'm like, Tom, don't do it. But yeah, here I am, like being like, wow, I don't do that. I'm a rebel. I can do it my way. But I mean, I do listen as much as I can to like what, you know, people say that, you know, are ahead of me.
Yeah, but then at the same time, trust your gut. So it's a balance that you have to find yourself. Yeah.
So I think we can call it out.
Well, thanks for having me.
Tom Proffitt Take 6. I started calling it Tom Proffitt Take, which is like the new name of the podcast instead of Tom Proffitt Podcast, which is just pretty bland. I think Tom Proffitt Take, where it's like, you know, you take 6, it's like a movie.
I like it.
Works.
It's catchy.
But
well, thanks for having me, Tom, and thanks for letting me talk about my book and the screenplay, and
thanks for letting me
look forward to working with you in the future. Yeah, man.
All right. Catch you on the flip side.
Yeah.
And wait, real quick, where do you want them to reach you or not find you?
You guys can find me at my Instagram _Kevin Macauley. I also have a website for the book, www.bealrightco.com. It's my company. It's a publishing, productions, and personal development company. And those are really the best places to find me.
Okay. All right. I'll try to link that in the description.
Awesome. That'd be cool.
Then lazy.
And yeah, and you can find the book on the website. You can also find the book on Amazon. Just search The Beat That Danced to Bop. And like I said, the hardback is now available.
Oh yeah, we almost forgot that.
So
Good thing we got that.
yeah, hardback is available. So this was just the notification. This was the announcement of that. So
Yeah. All
it's
right.
exciting stuff. Thanks, Tom.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming. Thanks for having me. All right.
Great stuff.